From the garage that sparked the global self-care movement, welcome to the Human Garage Experience, a podcast where we have unfiltered conversations on self-healing, consciousness, and optimizing your life with fascinating individuals changing the status quo. I'm your host, Garry Lineham, and I'm honored to have you here. Let's get down to it. I have an experience. I went to a hypnotist, probably 86, something like that, a long time ago, 87. I worked a night shift, stayed up the day. Instead of going to sleep, went there. So as they were going, I was starting to doze off, and I went right in. End of the show, I'm up on stage in my underwear. And,
yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, and because partly I was primed to, through tired, and my defenses were down and stuff like that.
Was that when you were super jacked?
Yeah, I was super jacked.
Did you have good underwear on, or were you embarrassed?
Man, I was super jacked. It didn't really matter.
Yeah. So.
He used to be a bodybuilder. So
yeah.
Used to be
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're a somnambulist, which means you're top 1% of subjects, which is a good thing. That's why you're probably so good at being disciplined. Mm-hmm. It's for most people. I'll just kind of give you guys perspective.
Yeah.
The average person thinks that they can't be hypnotized. Oh, you can't hypnotize me. It's not possible. The funny thing is hypnosis is something you're doing 24/7. Just asking me about it is a trance. You're imagining what it's probably like, what I can probably do. That's a trance on its own, right? When you're talking about that story, you left this moment in time to go back in time somewhere in your mind. So the more you can get someone to go into their mind, and the more you can have them recalling a story or seeing something, the more entranced they are. And then can you hijack that trance to get kind of whatever it is that you want them to get? Personal development, confidence, changing the way they are. Yesterday I was at a seminar, I was speaking, and this guy's like, look, I'm really anxious, can you help me out? And I said, okay, well, when you walk in a room with a bunch of people, what do you do? He's like, well, I just kind of look for ways to be comfortable. And I said, okay, well, if you were confident, what would you do? And instantly you could see his mind go. He looks, he thinks, and he goes, well, I would just own it. And then he says it extremely confidently. I'm like, look, you just changed your state. The problem is it's not going to stick for him because he's not identifying with being a confident person. So he was able to enter that state of confidence, that trance, even just by asking the question, he became confident momentarily. But his mind didn't connect the dots, which is why he wasn't able to change. What I've gotten really good at doing, this is what I teach people, is how do you get more of those moments where it clicks for you and then you have a permanent change? Most people have that happen in an aha moment, whether they go through something really traumatic, something bad happens to them, a breakup, someone dies, they lose it all, then they have the self-reflection. What if you could have that all the time, but instead of waiting for things to get bad, you do it when things are great? And usually people have a breakthrough once a year, twice a year, and then it results in changing your health. It results in maybe making more money. It results in walking away from something bad, leaving a bad relationship, whatever. What if you could have 2 or 3 of those moments a day, and everything you do actually starts to compound? So what I teach people to do is I'm like, look, what you want is the only metric. Am I getting closer or further away from what I want? That's the only thing to focus on. If you know you're getting closer to your health, you have more energy, your body looks better, you're making more money, your relationships are improving, your confidence is going up, etc., then I know that I'm doing something in the right direction. And then everything I do that pulls me away from that, I can now take that feedback and say, okay, this is pushing me away. So for me, everything's about optimizing results. How do I get to the result as fast as possible? Hypnosis is a tool that lets you kind of trim away all the bad habits and open people's minds up to a different way of thinking. So they might see things differently. For example, yesterday I put up a 20-digit number on the whiteboard, and I'm like, hey guys, who can memorize this? And obviously nobody could. And I'm like, okay. And I gave them the pattern. It was 23, 33, 43, 53, 63, 73, 83, 93, They're like, oh, yeah, I can memorize this. I'm like, yeah, the only difference is now you see it differently. So now they could see the pattern of focus correctly. Like you're looking at the number the right way, it's become easy. Same thing with making money, same thing with getting in shape. Arnold Schwarzenegger says that going to the gym, to him, getting a pump is the equivalent of having an orgasm. Well, if you look at someone really fat, they think going to the gym is miserable. It's suffering, it's torture. Obviously, they're going to be fat. So if you change the way you look at things, you're going to change your behavior naturally. And I think hypnosis is an easy way to do that. But more importantly, it's understanding, hey, how have I been looking at this? And I've been looking at it the wrong way, maybe my whole life. And that's why people maybe don't feel as good or take the right actions or the right steps.
So I have a question on that. So when you hypnotize someone, do you find that it lasts a long time? If you follow up with them? Because so say someone has an identity they've had for years that they had some trauma happen, so they've created this thing of I'm afraid of love, and this other person's like, the other identity is I want love, and they're always in that conflict.
Yeah.
So does the hypnosis come on and layer another identity on top of that, or is
No.
it like sinking below?
No, you're
the
changing who they are at the core. You know, when you hypnotize someone, at least when I do it, which is different than how a lot of people do it, I get someone into the deepest state of trance, and then I change who they are at their core, their identity. If you don't change their identity, they're not going to actually change. And the second thing I'll tell you is, if that identity then gets rewarded, because you're like, oh, now I'm open to love, and you go out and you go to fall in love, and you pick the right person now, because you're not picking the wrong people that continue to, you know, break your heart and fulfill your self-fulfilling prophecy of, oh, everyone's going to do this to me. You pick the right person the next time, and now you're rewarded, you're treated really well, your identity is just going to get stronger. But what happens is, most people don't do it correctly, they don't do it all the way, so they'll kind of be like, oh, now you're open to love. They make them vulnerable again, and they go pick the same bad partner. They get wrecked,
Yeah.
and then they're like, yeah, it didn't work. Of course it didn't work, because you didn't focus, you didn't help them change the problem. The problem is their lens on who they're picking, not just how open they'll be. You know, some people have one or the other. Like internally, they can get into the state, but they're not good at externally picking the right things or taking advantage of the right opportunities. And sometimes they're good at doing that part, but they themselves can't tap into the emotion they need to tap into.
It's so funny because in a way we do this with people. Like they have a trauma, they have an identity that they keep sharing. This happened to me, this is what's going on, this is where I'm at in my body. And then we have to find a way to like get them out of that trauma loop. Either it's through the body, through the mind, or through the emotions. And we kind of play with it. Like sometimes someone's constantly repeating a story, you ask them a different question, somehow they come back to that same story.
Yeah, they're looping on the
So
same
how do
track.
you dissect, when somebody's in that kind of situation, you're saying that you put them into a trance and then you hypnotize them. So what is that process? Like step by step, how do you actually do that?
Yeah, so what people don't realize about identity is that identity is based off of results, off of your future. Everyone has a blueprint in their mind. So in your mind, you know what your life is going to look like in a year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Whatever you're going to look like, whatever your life is going to be, is your current identity today. So if someone's in a relationship and they see themselves having kids and a family and getting married to somebody, part of their identity is this relationship. When the relationship ends, that future collapses, and now they don't know who they are. They have to find themselves. Or initially, someone might have very ambitious goals, and they get into a relationship where there's no room for their goals, there's no room for them to grow, and now their identity again collapses. So then now they become super codependent, but they feel like they've lost themselves, and ultimately they might sabotage to go back to that old identity. When you want to change someone's identity, you have to ask yourself, well, what are they seeing their future looking like? Are they seeing themselves getting hurt again? Are they seeing that trauma coming back? What are they seeing in the future? And whatever they see happening in the future is what they're identifying with today. An identity is really a strategy to accomplish a result. So if you look at their current strategy, if someone's crying, they're depressed, they're unhappy, what result are they trying to get? I don't look at it as like, oh, that's so sad, you feel bad, you know, that's horrible. I just look at it in black and white. This strategy produces this outcome. If you're anxious, depressed, sad, you're not going to have a lot of money. You're going to ruin every relationship. You're not going to be very pleasant to be around. If you're in a good mood, you work on yourself, you actually develop new patterns, you feel really happy, you're motivated, you're excited. That's automatically going to result in them making more money, being healthier, having stronger relationships, being more authentic, being more confident. So I just look at whatever future they see. And then, by the way, it's not just one ultimate future, it's also a timeline. Like when you start dating someone, for instance, it might be 3 months where it's amazing, and then the second you go, oh, now we're dating, it changes, because now the meaning has changed. Now the blueprint has changed. So you're in a blueprint for getting them to like you, and that's a great blueprint.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
Then you got them to like you, and now the blueprint is, how do I get them to not leave? How do I get them to not cheat? How do I get them to not do whatever? Because that's the trauma coming up. So now all of a sudden you have a completely different identity. Your identity just changed because now there's a different meaning here. So just being aware of how our mind works. I mean, it's so stupid. Such a just saying, oh, now you're my boyfriend and girlfriend.
Changes everything.
Changes everything.
Yeah.
Or, before we were married, it was great. The second, we got married, everything got bad. Well, why?
Yeah, because I think it's like each identity. So what you're saying is like each identity has a specific goal.
Yeah.
And that goal of that identity is going to be served no matter what the person's doing.
No matter what, unconsciously. Exactly.
Unconsciously, it's going to be served. And then they have the conflicting identity. It's like, I'm trying to get this money, but this other goal of like, oh, I can't have money, I'm not good enough,
right.
or whatever it is. It's fulfilling that goal, and it creates this constant, like, energetic.
And that's why visualizing your goals is the most powerful way to change. They say manifest your goals by visualizing them. What they're really telling you is by visualizing your goals, you're kind of rewiring this blueprint, and now you've changed your identity. So when you see your goals long enough, you've now changed your current identity, And that's why you go get it. It's not that seeing your goals manifested into your life. It's that it changes who you are inside.
Yeah.
It changes you. If I see my goals every day, it changes who I am. That's why I always tell people, like, even, for example, couples in a relationship, you have to talk about what the future looks like together and align on it and continuously remind yourselves that, hey, we're working towards this together. Because what ends up happening is one person has one goal they're not aware of.
Yeah.
Another has another goal they're not aware of. And they're like, well, why is this person, this person's messing with me? Like, they don't respect me. It's like, no, you haven't built something together. Business partnerships are exactly the same. Friendships are exactly the same. Every connection you have is exactly the same. As long as you highlight, hey, these are the goals. Do we play into each other? And does it fit for one another? You'll have a long-term relationship in any sense of the word. But if suddenly there's some conflict, and even with your business, like if in your business you don't see it long-term, you're not going to have success. A lot of people sabotage their business because unconsciously they have a short-term thing. Okay, I'm going to get out of the problem I'm in. I'm not doing well financially. I'm going to break out of that. Suddenly they start making millions of dollars and they go, oh, different meaning, different blueprint. They ruin it.
It's interesting because David Guillaume, who teaches a lot of Kabbalah, he was talking about when he's working with somebody who's stuck at $10 million in their businesses all the time. They constantly get to 10 million and then they can't get past that. And he was saying that this woman, she didn't like hiring people. And because she didn't like hiring people, it meant that if she was going to make 12 million, she would have had to hire people. So she was constantly self-sabotaging because she didn't like hiring people. So there was like a belief somewhere that he had to get to that was limiting her growth. And is that something that you're seeing a lot? Like, how do you actually find what that limiting belief is when you're talking to somebody?
It doesn't matter. That's the funny thing. It's like, by spending all this time talking about the limiting belief, I just fall back into their strategy. My job isn't to conform to their reality. My job is to get them into a reality that makes them make sense. Like, if I'm talking to someone fat, and they're like, I can't lose weight. I actually had a client like this. And he calls me, he's like, look, I've been with the best trainers, I've been with the best dietitians, I've been with everyone. I can't lose weight because of my hormones. It's got nothing to do with my diet or anything like that. I said, yeah, that's bullshit. Yeah, that's not how it works. Like, he's like, no, it is. I just ran like 6 miles. It's my hormones, it's not my diet. I eat perfect. I said, okay, it's noon. What'd you eat today? He's like, I had a few salads and, I've been super healthy. I'm like, cool, how many calories did you eat? He's like, I don't know. He said, you're not even measuring your food. I guarantee you're overeating. I guarantee you have no idea what you're putting in your body, and that's why you're not losing weight. You're gaining weight because you're eating like a pig. You don't realize what you're eating, And he fought with me on it. I'm like, okay, well, when you realize it, let me know. Obviously, he sat there thinking about it, ended up losing 20 pounds in like a month. Why? Because it clicked for him. Most people who don't get the result they're looking for are just thinking about it the wrong way. I'm not here to conform to their paradigm. So when someone has a limiting belief, I just tell them, like, look, I don't care what your problems are. What do you want? Because by talking about their problems, I'm getting them to continue to focus on the old, not just the problem, the outcome that's not serving them.
You have an identity created from a future self, so a plan or an idea. Mm-hmm. Now, there's also anchors like words. Like if I say, I want to be married, what does marriage mean? And that comes through socialization. So they could have an anchor where marriage is like negative, or marriage is we do everything together, or marriage is we are independently supporting each other. And that can affect the outcome as well, right?
So whatever they grew up watching or modeling, whatever their blueprint is how it's going to be. Now, the thing is, most people are taught what they were taught. They're not taught what's the best possible solution, Like, they're not taught this is the healthiest direction to drink, eat, be. They're not taught this is the best way to make money. This is the best way to feel. No one's taught that. They just look at what seems to have worked for them, and that's what they copy. And no one really kind of goes and updates the software. So when you're looking at anything that might trigger, or an anchor you to some kind of outcome or some kind of behavior, be aware of it. Whenever someone feels bad, that's the best time to sit there and be like, okay, what just triggered that? Why am I feeling this feeling? I remember I was driving home. I just had probably the best time of my life. And I'm in my car. Suddenly I feel like crying. I'm like, why do I feel so sad? What's going on? And I look at the radio, and it's the song that's playing is a song that was playing when I broke up with my first girlfriend. I took her to the airport. It was the last time I ever saw her. And, she was a foreign exchange student, so she had to go back to Brazil. And during this breakup, I knew I'd probably never see her again. And I'm the most in love with her I'd ever been, saying bye to her at the airport. And in my phone, playing this song while it's happening. So then, 3 years, 4 years later, I'm I'm in my car, the song is playing randomly. There was a very low volume, like almost like in the background. And I'm feeling like, why do I feel so bad? And up until this point, I'm like, maybe anchors work, maybe they don't, I don't know. And I'm a hypnotist. I'm like, only time they really work is when I hypnotize someone to have an anchor. I'm like, oh, when you do this, you cry, and then they cry, you know? So I look at the thing, and it popped up in my mind. I'm like, oh my God, like this works. Like it's actually an anchor, and it's so subtle, it's so covert. And I started thinking to myself, I'm like, what other triggers are there in my house? What other triggers are there, you know, in my day-to-day? Everything was making me see something else. I started becoming aware of, oh yeah, there's an association here. And I'm like, how are these associations shaping my identity, my feelings, my state? And I started to optimize my environment. So everything around me, like I have like $10 million of fake cash lying around all over my house. Just because wherever I go, I'm just like, there's never a shortage of money. You know, like just visually, there's never a shortage of money.
Yeah, you're creating an environment that is supporting where you want to go.
Yeah, and by the way, that much cash is heavy. You know, like it's like
fake.
Yeah, it's like pounds and pounds of cash. But you know, also have a private chef. Like whenever I want, no matter what time of the day, 4 a.m., 3 a.m., 10 in the morning, whatever I want to eat, it's there. And I know exactly what the macros are, the calories are. It's all organic. You know, so everything in my environment is, whenever I start feeling myself going into scarcity, or I feel myself feeling fearful, that's when I spend more. Whenever I feel myself getting, you know, some kind of fear, I'm like, okay, is it a trigger? Is it my physiology? Like, is it lack of sleep? Is it dehydration? Is it low blood sugar? You know, I'm trying to kind of analyze all the variables. And then I kind of get to a conclusion. I'm like, look, if it's low blood sugar, if it's diet, let's eat something. I eat, it's still there. Okay, is it something else? You know, and I kind of try and sort out why I'm feeling this way. My number one thing is feel good. When I feel good, everything works out. When I don't feel good, that's when I find problems.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I think people like neglect that actually a lot of what their environment is. Like they try to transform themselves, but then they place themselves back in such a similar environment.
Yeah, horrible environment.
And then they're constantly being reinfected, even though it's super subtle. Like, oh, this was the mug that my lover gave me, and so then
the nostalgia keeps them tied.
It keeps kind of looping that energy in, and then now they're in a bad state.
Well,
and they start following that pattern.
That nostalgia, that anchor of what their lover gave them, ties them to an old identity where the future is with their old lover.
Yeah.
And that's why they can't move on. You can move on from someone in 10 minutes if you just change that.
What's interesting is, particularly us, in this journey, we've literally reduced our lifestyle down to a suitcase and own nothing outside of that. Literally own nothing outside of that. And what I find is that I even looking at pictures from the past, which I look at only occasionally, take me out of the present and where I want to go. And that's been a journey that we've been going on for quite some time. Like literally everything I own, I carried here.
It's not only the environment that anchors me, but it's also the people. So like if I have a bunch of friends and they all see me a certain way, they all think I am a certain person. The times in my life where I've wanted to change the most, I completely change everything. I change the people, I change the place, I change the things, so that I have a completely fresh lens looking at me too. It's almost like in my mind, if I'm telling stories over and over again, well, so are all the people around me. They're telling stories about me all the time. So they anchor me in that identity. Yep. So if I want to have a rapid identity shift, which I've done many times in my life, I've always completely changed everything. Is that something that you do with people sometimes?
100%. I'll tell you too, the number one rule I give people, I don't care if it's your family, your cousin, your kids, if they're not making you feel good, either correct the behavior with boundaries, right? Like if you have a baby, that's on you. But if they're adults and everyone's grown up and they're not treating you with respect, you got to make your environment good. For me, I have literally a zero tolerance policy for how I feel. Like someone around me is always in a good mood. I had a girlfriend. This is going to sound controversial for a lot of people, but I remember I finished like a long work day. I go to my room. She's in my room. She's crying. I'm like, what's wrong? Thought someone might have died or something like that. It's the only reason I could see her crying. And she goes, I don't know. I'm just upset. I'm like, okay, do you want to tell me why you're upset? She's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go back downstairs. And when I come back, you're going to be happy. And if you're not happy, you're not going to be here. And I went back downstairs. 30 minutes later, I came back up. And for the rest of my relationship with her, she was always happy. Always. Because it's just a negative pattern. I was like, let's be a victim and try and get affection. For me, I'm like, I can't be around that. That's not where my mental capital needs to go. Right? So in your case, when a lot of people have a negative state or a negative pattern, a negative anchor, it's been rewarded. They've been treated, like when a baby cries, what happens? They get love and they get attention and they're taken care of. So over time, you either evolve out of that as an adult, you have a lot more emotional intelligence, you evolve out of that, or maybe you've never had the awareness and you got rewarded for so much time having this, love and attention and everything you want from that. Gives you status even from like, oh my God, I'm crying, and everyone's like, oh my God, this person's amazing. Now you're the center of the room. Well, now you've created a disempowered state with the illusion of being rewarded.
I'm so happy you said that, because when people are in a really bad mood, I try not to give it any energy.
No, ignore that.
And it's not because I don't care. It's not because I'm
It's
not
not rewarding it. It's classical conditioning.
Yeah.
If your dog shits on the carpet, I'm not going to give it a treat. If they're in a bad mood, I'm a little bit more
extreme on it.
Yeah, if someone's in a bad mood, I'll literally tell them, like, get out. Mm-hmm. What do you mean? Yeah, get out. Like, come back when you're in a good mood. Go cry to your mom. I'm not your mom. Go.
Yeah.
Which means, why are you being such a dick, bro? It's like, actually, not really. I'm just protecting my own space.
Well, also, you're the only person.
I'm not rewarding you for continuing.
You're going to make them change. Yeah. People come to my seminar. I've had people tell me they're suicidal. I'm like, cool, guys, get them a cookie. Come on. Get them a cookie. What do you mean? Yeah, come on, get them a cookie. No, cry. They'll like start laughing. I'm like, what are you doing? You're suicidal. No, you're not allowed to smile. Like, it's just such a crazy pattern interrupt to them. Yeah. And then, finally they realize how dumb it is and they break out of it. Just no one has no one's got the balls to just say, hey, this is not good. Like, who's accepted this behavior for so long? I don't know. For me, when I see behavior, I'm just like, you're tolerating this and it's creating this result. Like, a good example, I have a friend, he's dating this girl for 9 months. And she, at the beginning, it's not like she's super confident. It's not like she's super abundant. She doesn't have like a lot of followers. It's not like a million people talking to her or trying to ask her out. She's cute. She doesn't have a line out the door. He, on the other hand, looks like Zac Efron from Baywatch, okay? Like year round. And he's super healthy, super successful. He's got everything going for him. And she's telling him to do, like, she's just always in a bad mood, always telling him what to do, and he's constantly trying to accommodate. And I told him, I'm like, if you just tell her you're going to walk away unless she changes, she's going to change instantly and she'll be good forever. And he's like, you think so? I'm like, do it. He did it 2 months ago, and she's been perfect, literally the most perfect girlfriend ever. All you have to do is one time just say, hey, this behavior is not rewarded anymore. This is the new behavior, and everything changed. It just, people are so scared of doing that.
Yeah. Well, because society seems to be focused on like, oh, you poor love, like to a point where it's overboard of giving so much compassion or too far, and then it's like, cool, I still feel for you because I felt bad before, I felt angry before, but how long are you going to stay that way? Yeah. No one draws that line of like,
I actually don't like when people give me attention if I don't feel good, because they're putting more energy into it.
Reinforcing.
Because it's like we're being taught that you have to share how you feel, you have to like receive support. But for me, I'm like, if I don't feel good, I don't want that to infect others, and I also don't want any energy on me to exacerbate it, to make it bigger.
Give me space, give me a sec to like get over this. That's the exact way I am. And what you guys are talking about is a psyop. It's a psyop because if you look at communism and Marxism, it's a collectivist ideology. So there's no individualism, right? Whereas the US is supposed to be individualistic. When you start creating a disempowering state, right, where it's good to be a victim, you create a collectivist environment where now you gain status by being a victim. You don't gain status by being empowered. And they demonize anyone who starts to have massive success or is empowered. And what ends up happening when you do this is you create a weaker society where it's normalized, right? Depression right now, all-time high. Suicide, all-time high. Drug overdose, all-time high. Right? All these rates are all-time high because they're literally changing the culture. But luckily, there's a massive pushback. Like, what I do, what you guys do. Yeah. There's a massive pushback in the culture, and people maybe can wake up to the fact that, hey, the best way to be is happy. It's not normal to not be unhappy. It's not normal to feel fatigued. It's not normal to have no energy or be depressed. These aren't normal things, but they're normalizing it. And by the way, straight out of a Russian communist handbook, okay? Like, they're part of their plan. They said, look, we're not going to win the communism war in 1 generation or 2 generations, but we'll win it within 4. And within 4 generations, they said, look, you buy education, especially psychology, and you start normalizing depression. You normalize these things. Like, people are like, yeah, it's normal to be sad. And they make it like, oh yeah, if anything, it's cool to have it. Like, oh yeah, you give them a label, an identity. Like, oh, you're depressed. You're clinically depressed. Like, it's now an identity. It's not a state. It's now become an identity. And they do all these things. And their plan is simply, hey, if you were able to completely disempower people, where now it's a collectivist movement, you can't breathe, you herd mentality, you follow what everyone says, now you're getting control. And the whole reason they wanted to do it is because they believe that if you're too individualistic, you'll have opposing ideologies, and eventually we'll all nuke each other and die. So because they believe the ends justify the means, the more control you get over a society, the better it'll be. And right now, if you look at AI and everything they're coming out, surveillance, you're not be able to piss without it knowing where you're going. The temperature of your piss.
Yeah.
So that's what's going to happen.
89 degrees.
Yeah, exactly.
You're out.
Yeah, you're dead. 89 degrees, you're dead.
Yeah.
Hypothermia.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting what's happening in the world, and a lot of people follow it because they're so suggestible. They're literally being hypnotized into that mindset. So I think just being aware of it and not being just on your own, not rewarding those behaviors. Because at the end of the day, you could have 50 people try and cancel me in a room. Like, oh yeah, Marczell is, who the f you think you are? I'm so confident that those 50 people will end up apologizing to me within 10 minutes. You're all going to apologize and you're going to behave. And I'm not going to conform to you, you're going to conform to me, right? That's not your strategy is weak. It's not going to get me. You're not going to influence me. I'm going to influence you. And if everyone just kind of had that firm, confident belief system where they are like, oh, I can really conquer the world if I want. I can do whatever I set my mind to. Then all these weaker patterns that try to posture and be super loud and make you feel guilty and into changing, they'll all collapse. They'll give up and they'll submit to your behavior, and eventually they'll grow as well.
Thanks for watching and tuning in. These conversations have radically shifted my life, and I want you to experience those radical shifts too. Take these conversations and integrate them into your body by joining one of our fascial maneuver reset programs. Introduction to fascial maneuvers, 7-day reset or 28-day reset. We're going to put the links below. Take that cerebral knowledge and that experience that you're having right now and bring it into your life by resetting it in your body. These programs have radically shifted my life, and I know they'll radically shift yours. Don't wait another moment. Reset your life today.
Where do you feel like the deepest levels of programming are happening? Like what?
Your phone.
Yeah.
Literally on your phone all day long. If you pull up your phone and you go to your Explore page, it's probably got a bunch of health stuff on there.
No, it's funny because ours is all like woman and AI built, it's trying to change my reality by making. Yeah.
We're a health channel, and we're a big health channel, and
it's always naked girls.
And they keep constantly pushing new algorithms to us. Ours is insane.
Yeah, and what they're doing is they're taking humans and they're altering the shape of their body and the way that they look. So it's it tries to alter my reality, and it's really funny because if I accidentally glimpse it with my eyes, it changes the way I think later in the day. So now I just avoid those. Yeah, it's trying to prime me.
Yeah, I just looked at my feed and it shifted. It's now because I was just recently researching movement patterns, and so now it's all this people doing movement patterns. But just 2 days ago, it was a bunch of chicks in bikinis.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine is literally cars and girls. Yeah. That's my entire thing.
Yeah, because you're interested in cars, and then
because I love cars. Yeah. But the whole point is, I just find it so funny that it's I open this, I'm like, well, I don't need to be on this because I have it in real life. So I like that it's optimized for what I have, already. I don't need to go on my phone because I look day to day.
It's in your garage right now.
Yeah, but if I didn't have it and I was missing it, or I had the same feeling for it, I could picture myself simply just being on there obsessed. Now, in some ways it's a good thing, but in other ways, the entire goal of the platform is to keep you on the platform. Mm-hmm. So the longer it can keep you on it, the more valuable it is. And the most valuable thing in the world, there's nothing more expensive than this, more expensive than gold. If anything, it influences the price of gold, it influences everything, is attention. And whatever can maintain people's focus and attention the longest and the strongest, that's it. And if you want to think about how you're being brainwashed or hypnotized or conditioned, what takes your attention the most? And whatever takes your attention the most is what influences you the most.
Well, here's what I noticed shifting the algorithms lately. Is it used to be where you would see red and blue. You saw both sides. Mm-hmm. Now you only see what you believe.
Yeah.
And so what I've noticed shifted in the algorithms is whatever I'm interested in, it shows me more of that. So I don't see anything else that exists. So it's almost like you live in your own bubble. Whereas before, you would kind of get a taste of different things and different belief systems and different programming. Now you're only getting what you're looking for.
Yeah, it reaffirms whatever it is you got going on.
Yeah, because they found that you're going to stay more on if you do more of that.
Yeah, the algorithm is just a really, really advanced software. And the only job of the software is to say, okay, whatever is trending, whatever this person is paying attention to, we're going to feed people that fuel. So imagine you go to a restaurant, all you want is pizza, and they're selling hamburgers today. Mm-hmm. Well, if they have one pizza in the back, everyone's going to, they're going to sell it to you if possible. But if everybody wants pizza, they only have hamburgers, people are going to leave. So when you go onto the algorithm, what are you looking for in that moment? And that's whatever is trending, right? Like news, or whatever you are already conditioned to. Those are the only two things.
Kind of speaking to what you were saying before about like the shift of even like the Communist Manifesto, all these things of like moving society in a certain way. Because like my dad, is like 81, and it's funny because he's like, well, I don't understand all these kids nowadays. It's like everyone's like coddles to them in a way. And he's like, when I was a kid, it was like, how you feel today? Well, I'm sad. Cool. Get to work.
Yeah, and give a
it's like get to it and get your stuff done and
I'm
create.
26, even for me, it was like that.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't, my mom was super loving, my dad was super loving, but if I didn't go after what I wanted, I wouldn't get it. Like I remember I tried out for a team. I didn't get on the team. Like you weren't good, you weren't good. Like you go to do something, it happens. And then I remember when I was in high school, I learned about affirmative action. And they're like, oh yeah, well they let in way more African Americans into college and all that. I'm like, I'm just gonna, my mom's Moroccan, I'm just gonna apply. And even if she wasn't, I'd make it up. Like I would put it on the thing and then they'd accept me into this college. What do you do, revoke my, acceptance? And I was just like, the fastest way to get into college is like, just say you're of the most, I'm Indian, I'm Native American, whatever. They're gonna have to let me into UCLA. It's impossible to get in if you're white. It's not impossible to get in if I'm Native American. How are you gonna prove I'm not Native American, I was just like, this is crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah. But people are so in the box, like, oh, I have to put that on this because in identity. I'm like, forget my identity. If I want to go to UCLA, I'm going to UCLA as a Native American. Now I got in. I could have a C and probably get in. Yeah. So I saw all this stuff. I was just thinking, I'm like, damn, that's so unfair because it makes it harder for people who really work hard. And I didn't like it. I was a championship athlete in high school. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, I'm a championship athlete because I worked hard. Now, the one thing where you're never, ever, ever, I don't care how much you think, if everyone's nicer to me, it's going to work out. In business doesn't give a about how you feel. It doesn't care about your emotions. My employees come to me like, yeah, sorry, I had a long weekend. I'm like, I don't care if you had a long weekend. The business doesn't care if you had a long weekend. The business is a thing. It's not a person. Yeah. So you're either going to be a part of it and you're going to help make money. And that's my standards. Like, especially my company, things have to be I don't care what you're going through. Like someone just had, one of my head of sales. His mom had a stroke. I'm like, obviously, you can go to the hospital. But the culture is so ingrained in the team. He's like, no, I'm going to finish the workday. Like I can't, she's in the hospital. I'm not a doctor. I can't do anything. I'm going to go see her after. Like there's nothing I'm going to do. Finish the workday. Another one had a kid. Literally, his kid was born and he continues to work, from the hospital. It's like, that's the culture, even for me. I remember, I'm about to go on stage. It's happened to me a couple times. And the first time was in March 2023 in Mexico City. I had a pretty big event there. I was speaking. There was like 1,400 people. And I go on stage. 10 minutes before I'm on stage, I got the mic on. I'm waiting for the person to call me up. I get a text saying my friend just died from high school. And I'm like, well, got to stay focused, get in state. Obviously, I'm like, now it just put me back maybe an hour that I've been conditioning myself to get on stage. I had 10 minutes to get back in state. So I did, not fully, but I did. Then I had another seminar when I came back 3 months later, and I had this coach working for me. And he's like, hey, should I come to your seminar? Or should I go to this retreat I've been really wanting to do in Costa Rica? I'm like, you can go to the retreat, no problem. Come to the next event. So he goes to the retreat and drowns. And I find out about it. As I'm going on stage, they pull me aside and we have to tell you about it. So I made an SOP for my company now. I'm like, hey, a week before I go on stage, from that moment on, I don't care what's going on in the world, no one tells me anything. The company will be on fire.
We go through this too. If I'm going on stage and you're telling me an issue right before I go on stage, now I have to clear all of that out, reprogram myself to be in the right state to show up.
Yeah, just to go on stage to show up, exactly. Yeah. It's an SOP. I don't care what's happening. The company could be on fire. I could be out of business. I don't care. You don't tell me until I get off stage.
Let me finish this task, yeah.
Oh, that's so funny you say that because we've been through that for sure.
It's just states.
Yeah.
State's the most important thing. Yeah. I'll tell you a quick thing, and then I'll answer your question. I had a girlfriend, 2020, and there was a company that was making $100 million a year, and they're like, hey, come do this keynote on Zoom, and if you do well, we'll give you a $3 million contract. 5 minutes before the keynote, she starts to fight with me, and I still think it was a good seminar, but it was nowhere near the caliber it should have been at. And they didn't even call me to say thank you, and it burned the bridge. And I'm like, wow, look at how even having one bad relationship, messing with how I felt, cost me $3 million a year there. And I was like, well, I'm never gonna do this again. So that was the first time I had this awareness of how important it was. And then it just, uncontrolled events occur. Also getting sick. I had 103 fever in January of 2023. I had 104 fever for 3 days. Inflammation, my face is puffy. I felt horrible, and yet I had to come through with a seminar. Sore throat, the worst sore throat I ever had, and I had to continue to just push through the whole seminar, taking ibuprofen nonstop, anti-inflammatories, trying to lower it. And I'm like, I'm never going to be sick again before an event. So there's like even a month before a seminar, I get into massive health, like a crazy protocol, just to make sure I don't get sick. I don't see people as often. Crazy vitamin D, vitamin C, everything. Just a completely different, a different mindset. Really preparing rather than reacting. So I'm doing the opposite. I'm preventing things from happening rather than reacting to what's already happened.
Mm-hmm. No, I just so thinking of that. Do you think that is all necessary, or if you kind of shift, like taking on an identity of, I've got to do this to accomplish that, or is there a way of like getting to a point of like you can
Flexibility,
like flow,
flexibility,
more flow state oriented.
I'm extremely flexible. It just, for me, it's optimizing, right? Like I know that if I go out today and I eat at a restaurant and I have a bunch of French fries and just fried foods, I'm probably gonna have a lot of inflammation over the next few days. And because I'm super aware of what my body feels like without inflammation, I'll notice that. I also know that if I'm dehydrated, I could see the difference. If I sleep a couple hours less, I could see the difference in my performance. So whenever I go about my day, it's like, look, I could see the cost, the reward and the cost of doing everything that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So it's not that you have to do these things. I just like to stack the deck in my favor, rather than creating a mountain or an unnecessary, I guess you could say, problem that prevents me from performing at my peak.
I'm the same way with you. I'm flexible, because we come up with this all the time. He's like, well, why don't you just be in the way that you can react, or you don't have to? And I'm like, or you can accept it. And I'm like, well, I don't have to be. And so that's a choice, actually. So I can choose to, what you said, I can choose to optimize my environment to the way that I want. I don't have to sit there and endure the pain and work through it, because I've done that too.
Well, there's a principle around that. It's like you're using your past good to keep you functioning because you made a bad decision. Mm-hmm. So just because I can do it doesn't mean I should. Right. Because now I'm using my past resources that I built up, all the goodwill, all the good things that I've done for myself, to keep me functioning at my best because I took this action that wasn't in my best interest. Like I have just like you, very strong discipline around certain things, like how I sleep, what I put in my body, the decisions I make in a day. I optimize those so I don't have to come out of a deficit when I'm stepping on stage or performing or teaching or in a podcast or whatever. So
it's interesting because a lot of people they're very focused on the symptom of their problem. And with psychology, the only thing that doesn't matter is the cause. I actually don't care about the cause. The cause is simply what are they focused on, the result. That's almost all psychology will fix every problem you have. If I just change your identity, I've changed your life. Like so much so that I'll give you a quick example. There's something I do. I have a seminar, it's called Mental Millionaire. I do it twice a year. It's a 2-day event where I create a second identity in someone's brain, and then I merge the identity. But that new identity has a clean slate. There's no past, there's no trauma, there's nothing it's learned. It's brand new, literally a clean slate, which is not possible to do in a normal psyche. So what you have to do is you have to create something called Disassociative identity disorder, which used to be called multiple personality disorder. So you create DID, and the only way to create DID is through a trauma response. So you have to traumatize them in hypnosis. You create a second personality. In that second personality, you program it to be whatever you want, and then I merge it. Now, the CIA does this, other intelligence agencies do this, but they keep it separate. This identity goes and becomes an assassin or something. Goes and kills a politician, takes the downfall. They've brainwashed it. For example, Sirhan killed Robert F. Kennedy. Guarantee you this is the exact protocol they did with him. Anyways, I do this, but a bit differently, not to go brainwash you to go kill people. And the reason I do it is because they have studies with DID where someone could have glaucoma, be blind, and not respond to not respond to light in one personality, and another personality see perfectly. In one personality have type 1 diabetes, which you're born with, and another, they don't have diabetes at all. In one personality, their metabolism is a fraction as fast for some reason as in the other personality. One person has anxiety, one doesn't. It's just so crazy how just changing the identity in your brain, it just goes to show how little we understand about the brain and how little we understand about neuroscience. I remember I was studying neuroscience in college, and I'm like, they can't explain half the things I do with hypnosis. They literally cannot explain. My neuroscience teacher was like, that person must be bipolar, that's not normal. And I'm just like, it shows me that our technology, at least to understand the brain, is still so far back, so far behind that, we don't know. And, here's another thing that I've found quite interesting. It's just the perception that we know more. Even doctors. I mean, if you look at how a doctor does surgery, they're like, some surgeons, if you're like a vascular surgeon or a heart surgeon or a brain surgeon, you're very precise. But, a lot of surgeries are just rough. I mean, it's like the way they do something with like construction.
Like shoulder replacements, they use like a hammer, and knee replacements, they use a hammer to hit the thing out.
I thought it was very, it's not. It's like literally they're drilling things into your body. It's like, yeah, let's just wing it. Like they're just putting it in a piece of wood. Yeah. I'm like, that's insane. But we still think that, medicine is super advanced. We're not that advanced.
No.
And especially with understanding of psychology, we're not that advanced.
We don't think that.
Yeah, we know we don't know much.
We hang out in the territory of we don't really know, but this kind of seems to work.
Yeah, it's just whatever produces the result. You know?
We have a completely different way of looking at it. I mean, one of the things is that we're driving an ideology that works, and we have results all over the world with millions and millions of people. But there's no science to back up those results. And so one of the ways that we do this in a public opinion is that we call out the facts of it. Like one of the facts of how much do we know about the human body is that everything in the body that runs it from thinking to blinking, every hormonal reaction is generated by a protein acting inside of a cell. And we have between 5 and 20,000 proteins. That means we have 10,000, it's used for a number, 10,000 proteins. We have 50 trillion cells, that's 5 quintillion proteins. Scientifically, if we said we knew about the body, we'd have to know like 80, 90% of that. We only know 100,000 proteins. We only actually work with 5,000 out of 5 quintillion. And then we pretend that we actually understand the body scientifically. So we will use a premise like this to actually shock people into going, well, we don't know. And so we don't know, then it's okay to just focus on results. And that's one of the psyche changes that we have, because we've had this whole belief system that we have to go to doctors to get fixed. And our whole message that we started putting out in 2020 is you can heal yourself. Your body heals itself. And that's been like the major psyop that we've been running.
Well, there's a lot of science behind that too. I mean, the number one research thing in the world is placebo. And what's the placebo? It's just the belief that you're going to get better, right? And I even have seen some of these clinical trials, like you can watch them, and the doctor would be like, yeah, take this pill, you'll be fine. If the doctor just said, look, this is a miracle drug, it will literally cure you, I guarantee you the result of the placebo would go up significantly. But the problem is, Big Pharma's trying to prove, like, hey, look, this pill doesn't really work, it really, really does a great job, whereas this one is just a placebo, doesn't do anything. So I guarantee you when they give them the other pill, finally when they prescribe it, they probably go, hey, look, it has a big difference. But I'm willing to bet that, for example, there are so many things we call miracles. What a miracle is just, we don't understand it. So we just say, oh yeah, it's a miracle. Why not look at what caused this person to go from terminal stage 4 cancer to completely having no cancer? Oh, maybe they changed their diet. Maybe they went on a keto vegan diet. Oh yeah, they stopped smoking. They stopped doing this. Like smoking ages you 500 times faster. There's so many things that people do, like vaping, right? It's just disgusting. Drinking has become a cultural norm. Like, I've never drank. Like, I don't drink. I drank one time in my life. I think it's disgusting. And it made me feel like an idiot. And to this day, I think my brain is damaged from it. I swear to God.
My whole life, I'm 47.
You're 47?
Yeah.
You guys 47?
Yeah.
56.
You're 56? How old are you?
17. No, I'm just kidding. 31.
Yeah, that's insane.
But I've only been maybe drunk one time in my entire life.
It's the worst.
And I was like, and I never felt attracted to do it, and I never really understood. I'm like, why are people doing that?
Because it's just cool.
Yeah, but it's funny to watch it. But as a kid, I was always like, I can go be crazy and jump and be nuts
Takes
without
away
it.
your
I was like, why is someone having to put that to feel that? It never bridged the gap. And then as I got older, I saw like, oh my gosh, like everyone around me is like in this paradigm of like, the only way I have fun is to do this. The only way I have fun is to do this.
They've anchored it.
They've anchored it so deeply.
Let's go back to diagnosis for a second.
Yeah,
So one of the things that, diagnosis is one of the things that we push against, because you talk about placebo.
Nocebo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the diagnosis is the biggest placebo. And the challenge of the diagnosis is it limits everybody to the perceived or known outcomes of the label that the doctor puts on them.
Yeah.
I believe personally that we're going to go in about 3 to 5 years with what's happening in health today, and this is the world we live in, and we're going to say that diagnosis is actually a criminal act because you're constricting people to a belief system, and that belief system usually points to something that you're going to die. And this is something that we've been working through for a long time. And we extracted diagnosis out of our clinic because we used to be a clinic here in Venice. And we pulled it out of the clinic because the outcomes were better. And it wasn't very popular. As a matter of fact, medical boards and stuff like that completely fought against that. But if you tell somebody, hey, you got cancer and you have 6 months to live, it's pretty certain that that person's going to have 6 months to live unless they have a super strong will that does not believe or does not identify with that diagnosis.
Yeah, it's not a victim. They're not going to go into that pattern. I find something really fascinating in my book. I have a book called Unlock Your Mind. And one of the chapters in the book, there's a story about a guy who had lymphatic cancer. And they give him placebo. Like, hey, the doctor says, hey, look, this thing's going to cure you. Injects water in him. And the tumors, he says it's this new medication. This tumors pretty much melt away, right? A couple weeks later, there's no tumors. He starts doing a bunch of research on it, this guy, and he's like, oh, turns out that this medicine doesn't work. And he comes back and he's like, oh, I heard the medicine doesn't work. And his cancer came back. So he gives him a stronger dosage of it because it worked last time. It goes away again. And then he continues doing all this research. And then it's like, oh, it doesn't work at all. And then he brought his own cancer back and he ends up dying. There's another example, which I didn't put in my book because it's a bit woo-woo for people, but it's actually, you can look this up.
You're in the right place.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
pretty
much this guy goes, he takes, a scan. He's had cancer. They want to see the progression of it. And the radiologist's like, your cancer's gone. But she's looking at someone else's body. She's not looking at his. She made a mistake. And she shows, look, cancer is literally gone. So they call him back a week and a half later. They're like, hey, I think we made a mistake. We looked at the wrong thing. Come back in. And they scan his body, and his cancer's gone in 10 days. Mm-hmm. So people are like, well, how did you get rid of cancer in 10 days? Like, the guy had terminal cancer. It doesn't make any sense. And there are so many cases like this, which are documented, but you never hear about it because it's like, yeah, well, people really underestimate the value of placebo because if you look at the education system is largely funded by big pharma. Now, if you go back to the 1920s, hospitals almost went out of business. Why? Because they were giving everyone vitamin D. Vitamin D was given everyone in milligrams. So in milligrams, you're like, okay, I'm going to take, a decent amount of vitamin D. Then they changed it to IU because hospitals were empty. Everyone was so healthy just by having optimal vitamin D levels. Yeah. They changed it to IU, and now we have a 92% vitamin D deficiency. Like 90% of the world is vitamin D deficient. And then they're like, I don't know why I feel so low energy. I don't know why I'm, this. Well, it's because you have no vitamin D in your body. And then all of a sudden, hospitals filled up again. I think vitamin D is probably one of the most important vitamins that human beings have to take. That's why our body produces it naturally in the sun. And if you look at, even prior to that, before Rockefeller got involved with creating a medical board and all that, you had half of the schools having, Eastern medicine, medical schools having Eastern medicine, that was their paradigm, and the other half having Western. And within 5-10 years, because the board that he created for certifications, all of a sudden, all the Eastern medicine cut out, it's all gone, they're all out of business, and we only have Western, pharmaceuticals. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's like, I don't want pharmaceuticals. I cannot stand pharmaceuticals at all. And in some cases, they're awesome. Like my dad's had 10 heart surgeries, and the pharmaceuticals he's on are keeping him alive. And they've done well for him. But not every person needs pharmaceuticals. Like he has to be on blood thinners. Makes sense. There's other things he has to be on. But not everyone needs to be on. The thing is, if you're a business like Big Pharma is, the more people that take medicine, the more money you make. So there are some people who actually do need medicine, but not everybody needs medicine. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. Majority of people don't need medicine. And if you're trying to create a country of sick people so you have a lot more money, what's the number one cause of death here in the US, you know?
One of them's medical malpractice.
Yeah.
Or
That's
making
the second.
mistakes. Yeah, but it's not the most.
That's the second biggest cause of death. Number one is being fat.
Yeah.
Pretty much just being overweight.
Yeah.
And then you got, I think it's the fourth actually, medical malpractice.
It's third.
Third?
Yeah.
Third? One, yeah. So
I knew it was up there. I just wanted to say it because
Yeah.
it's like
It's
mistakes.
What happens is that people go look at it. This is how data is manipulated. If you go, what are the top 10? Medical malpractice is not in there. If you separately search medical malpractice, you take that number and put it in there, it's third. Because the information is skewed. I mean, listen, we came from a clinical environment. We're teaching people to be self-reliant. And the biggest issue that we have is the placebo. And the placebo is the programming that they're currently getting. And this is what I love about talking to you, because you're circumventing programming. And what we do in our practice is we take the body out of stress, which raises very quickly through the fascial maneuvers. It raises dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, testosterone, estrogen, estradiol. And then what we do is we give the body a command. We speak the command whether they believe it or not. And that's part of our programming language. And this is one of the reasons why people all around the world, tens of millions of people, are healing their own bodies because of a simple practice of doing that, which is basically a hypnotic state in programming.
You know, I think a lot of people are stuck in a paradigm. They're like, no, this is woo-woo, right? Because if you think about it, just as much as there's a psyop to get you to do a certain protocol, there's a psyop to prevent someone like you from coming in and doing a certain protocol. And that's
Very, very aware of that.
yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
that psyop is very articulated. The banks that try to shut us down as a clinic, we get censored.
yeah, it's called pseudoscience. It's called, you know,
Snake oil.
snake oil. Yeah. You know, I mean, people tell me hypnosis is bullshit. Like, well, if hypnosis is bullshit, why'd the government spend $250 million on it? Why does anyone I want in the world do whatever the fuck I say if I decide to hypnotize them? I can hypnotize anyone, anywhere, anytime. Look, I'll give you guys an honest story. Chase Bank doesn't work with me. Okay, they've banned me from their bank. Now,
Nice, good. You made it.
Yeah, well, they banned me from their bank randomly for no reason in 2021. Yeah. And at the time, I had $100,000 in the account, which was a lot of money to me at the time. That was like, I was just using all my money in one bank account, and I'm like, okay, that's how I'm going to pay my bills. Like, I'm going to pay rent, my payroll. And I remember I was doing a seminar in Miami, and I like upsold like another $200,000, and it got sent to this account. And I'm like, you sent all this money to this account, but I can't get any of the money out of the account because they've pretty much closed it.
They froze it. Yeah.
But I didn't know. I thought it was fraud alert because I was in Miami. I'm like, oh, I want to use my card. I'm like, oh, it must be a fraud alert because I'm not in LA. So I go there and I'm like, hey guys, like, you know, my card's not working. Can you help me fix it? And they're like, oh, I guess we closed your account. You'll get a check in like 90 days. I'm like, what do you mean 90 days? I don't have 90 days. I'm not going to make my bills. Like, what are you talking about? And they're like, yeah, there's nothing you could do. So I went to like 10 different branches, trying to be super nice, didn't work. And I just went back to the branch that was next to my house. I lived here, the branch was next door to me. Like literally, the street I lived on is called Amestoy. It's like one of the most expensive streets in LA. It's like where Entourage was filmed, right? And I was on the first house next door to this Chase Bank there. I just walk into Chase Bank and I go and I'm like, okay, where's the GM? I find the GM. I start talking. I'm like, hey, how you doing? He's like, I'm great. I'm like, do you know if you can help me really quick? I think you might be better suited than the clerks. And they're like, yeah, sure. He's like, sit down. So he sits down. Now he's dressed really nice. He's like, oh, he must be like a successful client. And I end up hypnotizing him to go get me a cashier check with my money. So he goes and gets me my money. And I invited him to my birthday because he was super nice. He ends up getting fired after that because that's like a pretty big, I pretty much robbed the bank, you know, for like all the money that I...
For your money.
For my own money.
For your own money.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
but fuck them. What are you going to do? So you're going to go to the police, tell them that I robbed the bank for my money, you know? Fuck you. I really. So I was so annoyed with them that I used it. But the point is, like, I could have done that for an infinite amount of money. I could have done that for any amount I wanted. You know, I could get someone to sign their life away to me legally.
Yeah.
I can do that. I don't do that. But the point is if I can do that, you think I can't make someone lower their stress so their immune system goes up? I can't make someone have a little bit better habits? I can't make someone feel a little bit, you know, more health conscious? Of course I can. You know, and that's what you guys are doing. So to me, I think anyone who's looking at, if you're just looking at the typical thing, you know, and they're like, oh, you know, that's bullshit. The guy who says it's bullshit, you're also probably fat. You also probably had, you know, McDonald's the other day, and you also probably drink milkshake. So when you say it's bullshit, you know, you got to look at yourself and say, am I healthy?
Yeah.
You know, if you're not healthy, who are you to say it? I mean, look at you guys.
Yeah.
How the,
You know, it's part of a belief system, because we were coming out of medical and we had no way to prove what we were doing, so we just lived it. I'm 56 or 57? 56 now. And Jason and I we were in the Philippines. We had a biological age test. Mine was 30, he was a 17. That's why it says 17.
That's so funny.
And then my red blood cell count is, my red blood cells have the same consistency of an 8-year-old. And we have all these people that, you know, that are currently spending a lot of money biohacking, which is the big thing. And I used to take care of a lot of the biohackers in the clinic. And just simply changing our belief systems and our habits, we've not, like, instead of aging at 0.8 or whatever it is, we're aging at -2. It's getting younger, and that's, you know, that's part of it. It's a belief system. And the first thing that we believe and we tell people is that the human body is a fluid adaptive biological computing system that's self-generating.
Your depression's gone down here too, by the way.
Yeah,
You were depressed the first pick.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. It's crazy. You got leaner.
That's 5 years ago.
Yeah, you look
Almost
insane.
6. Almost 6 years. No, 6 years ago now.
That's crazy.
Yeah, 6 years.
That's
and
insane.
so part of that is that we had an uphill climb because we're against the science engine and a media engine that says this is how you perform and be young. And what we've done is we've just lived the lifestyle, and now we're at the stage where we have documented evidence to support that, to help people transform their own health. Because like you said, you create a belief system, and then by that, it helps people make a transformation.
Well, to anyone who says let's follow the science, let's also remind them that Fauci said, you know, that he made up the 6-foot rule,
Yeah,
and you know, the science around COVID, when in fact it's just a bioweapon that they decided to unleash on us. And they're like, oh yeah, let's go with this vaccine. Well, there are more deaths from the vaccine at the moment than there are from COVID.
Yeah,
on the CDC website. So, and that's following the science.
We're
Not that
looking
science.
at.
There's only certain science you follow,
Yeah.
depending on the nature of.
Well, I'm just saying that's the science. Science has become propaganda. It's not science anymore.
It actually never has been, especially around the body. And the challenge is that we're currently, because we answer health questions.
a lot.
A lot, millions. And we can tell you from the escalation of the questions, we can see people's patterns, and we can confidently say that we're in the largest healthcare system in the history of recorded time. And this is partly also why our movement is happening with millions of people and growing by millions of people, even monthly right now around the world, helping each other. It's because people are at this point of desperation. This is where I believe that what you're doing, implemented properly, what you're doing is helping people. It's changing their belief systems, because right now the belief system is so ingrained that we are sick, we're helpless, we're weak. And you read the same books that we do, you've been to this, you go down the same rabbit holes that we've gone to. You're just doing something about it, which is really cool.
You know, I'll say this to comment on that. Anybody who gets into the pattern of questioning what they were taught will come down the same rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they'll come to the same conclusion. And that conclusion is things aren't as limiting as you've been told they are. Your health, like, it's not normal to get sick. Oh, it's flu season. It's never flu season. I never get sick. Yeah. It's just the season to go sell vaccines, right? Like, let's go make money on vaccines. That's what that means. Oh, we got this new flu coming in, go get a new flu shot. In other words, hey, let's get our clients to come back and make us more money.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You know, but people don't view it from the lens of a business. They view it from a lens of, oh, I should get healthy. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I have a really good friend. His name's Huey. He's in Brazil right now. And his friend's like it's not his friend, but he has a good friend in Brazil, and then it's that guy's good friend. Has a kid, went to get a polio vaccine. Okay, kid gets a polio vaccine. That night he gets really sick, and now he's a quadriplegic.
Yeah.
Like just 3 days later, because it caused some kind of nerve damage, brain damage. You know, I just view it as like, look, does that happen every time? No. Have I taken the polio vaccine? I'm pretty sure I have. I haven't even checked what vaccines I've taken, as a kid. But I can tell you that, I have a pet monkey. Not many people know this. My monkey's never been sick once. And he's never gotten vaccines. He only eats organic fruits and proteins. He's on a carnivore diet pretty much.
Sweet.
And that's his whole life.
Yeah.
And he's never been sick. And he's always energetic. Crazy intelligence, sharpness, unbelievable sharpness, and that's my monkey.
I love monkeys. I'm so jealous.
Yeah. It's
So you never have problems getting the monkey off your back.
no, I mean you do, of course you do. I mean he's a monkey, like he'll be annoying. Like they have different behavior, but super intelligent.
Yeah.
And it's taught me a lot about, I would say it's taught me a lot about health, and it's taught me a lot about the psychology we have.
Yeah.
I started drinking raw dairy about 2 months ago. I started doing a lot of research on it. And I didn't realize how much stronger my immune system got. So sometimes when I'm fatigued or I'm tired, I know that I'm fighting something and I just don't know what it is. And I was like, okay, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're in high stress a lot. And I'm amazing at managing stress. Like this is my life. But there's still an underlying stress that's probably there. Started drinking raw dairy and I'm like, why do I feel so much better? Like I feel incredible, but I'm not drinking it every day because if I drank it every day, I started getting I got some inflammation, just because you get mucus. So there's a lot of mucus from it, but I was having it, 3 times a week, and I was like, wow, this is like insane. Except raw dairy goes bad in like 2 days. So you either drink it the day you get it, or you don't drink it at all. I just found it to be interesting. Just simple things that, like, oh, you're gonna get E. coli, or you're going to get food poisoning if you drink it. I don't think that's true.
Well, there's that raw chicken experiment, the raw meat. Have you seen that guy?
I've seen him.
Yeah.
He just eats like raw chicken and raw meat every day for 100 days, and he's been...
I still wouldn't recommend that because I'm not going to lie, I've had food poisoning only from chicken.
Yeah, chicken I think is a little...
Yeah, I mean, he was changing the
Yeah.
belief system, which I thought was super interesting.
Yeah, which I
because
think is the
he
cool part.
programmed himself to believe that he would be okay.
Because I ate raw meat even in Colombia, like every day, pretty much. Raw eggs and raw meat.
I mean, I've had raw beef.
And it's amazing.
Raw beef tastes delicious.
And just even in a small amount, and you feel like just energized because you're getting that whole nutrient profile. But it's kind of funny because I got my girlfriend too. I was like, hey, when I come back, because she lives there in Colombia, and I was like, I want to just do this experiment. I want to eat raw for like 30 days. And she's like, but you're going to get like, in Colombia, the style of cooking is burn the heck out of everything.
Yeah.
Right? They throw it on, I got to cook it super high heat, burn it all up. So it was like even a paradigm shift. And it was funny to watch her whole belief system start to shift, because then I was like, well, just taste a little bit. And she tried, and she was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And then she's like, now she wants to eat it.
You know what's funny?
But it was this belief system that was so ingrained.
The more you cook meat, the worse it is for you because it's more carcinogenic. Yeah. You're actually more likely to get, like people are like, oh, red meat causes cancer. Yeah, because you burn it.
Yeah.
Because it's black. The more raw it is, the better. I eat my steak rare or medium rare. Like medium rare is the most cooked I'll eat steak. Anything above that, I just don't. I'm not even interested. And even my chicken. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. You're not chicken.
No, but I just everything that I was taught growing up is not the way it is. It's not always exactly. I've been drinking water out of glass for probably the last 3.5 years. Just that little change. I don't necessarily notice a difference drinking plastic, but I do notice a difference in taste. Right? I can actually taste what water is now. People are like, oh, you can't taste water. That's not true at all. I could taste. People are like, if I put water in a glass,
If it's sweet or smooth.
Yeah.
My friends told me, like, if I put water in a glass, you're not gonna tell me which one it is. I said, let's bet. I was able to instantly tell them, this is the water, this is tap, this is disgusting, don't give me that.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. People are so brainwashed, they're so unaware of all the things. Like, you drink out of the tap. The tap was filtered sewage. Like, why are you drinking that? It's disgusting. It's chlorine. There's nonsense
Hormones,
chemicals.
birth control.
Yeah, birth control chemicals in there. It's so bad. I get a testosterone test, and my testosterone's around 900 naturally, and my free T's are on 24. And I look at those markers, I'm like, that's awesome. I just got a full blood panel. And this is something I think is really interesting. I walk in the sun 3 hours a day, shirtless, in shorts, every day, no matter what.
Not
3 to
nude?
4 hours. What?
Not nude?
Not nude. No, not in the backyard. But and my vitamin D levels were still super low. Like I was still vitamin D deficient.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, what nutrients am I missing that aren't allowing my body to actually produce that kind of vitamin D with this much sunlight or sun exposure?
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. So I've really been just looking at my blood.
From a health perspective,
Yeah.
it's minerals. And what happens is so part of where we started having troubles in the health industry is we came out in 2019 and told people why they're so sick. It's because we're dehydrated. We're dehydrated because we're spraying barium, strontium, aluminum in the air. Barium depletes your silica. If your silica is low, you cannot absorb or produce, hold the water, absorb and produce the hormones or the vitamins that you need in the body. And that's constant across everybody. This is one of our primary messages. It's just literally your vitamin D levels go up, you start taking silica. We recommend diatomaceous earth.
So silica.
Yeah. Silica. You're made of a lot of silica. And when you're a baby, you actually have higher silica than you have calcium in the body. And then as you age, you calcify, you harden. And so what we've done over the last 6 years is taken high doses of silica, which you can find in diatomaceous earth or horsetail and stuff like that. But that is the primary component that builds your skin, your hair, your nails, your teeth, your joints. Diatomaceous earth removes parasites from the body. It removes metals from the body.
So yeah, if you guys can give me either links
it's
or
on the
something.
table. We'll give you a bottle.
Send you with some supplements, and then
that'd be awesome.
We have a guide that's really simple. It's free. People download it, and it because to tell you to take something is only one thing, but to affect your belief system and know why. So we tell you why. But part of our whole process is that we had a clinic. We tested 10,000 people, top athletes, and everybody from Ben Affleck to the Olympic team to top athletes on the planet were on our clinic in Venice. And what we did is we kept testing, and we were looking for the single lowest source of input to create the greatest result. And what it came down to is just minerals. Reducing inflammation, minerals, and regulating sugar. The body does the rest. And if the body's not doing something, like you have great attributes in other areas. You eat raw meat, you can have great hormone profile. But if your vitamin D profile isn't there, it's because your body can't. Each mineral of the 102 you need is a pathway for your body to get something. And those pathways are to turn on and off hormones, as example, or bio.
What diet can you be on to get those minerals naturally?
You can't today. Because
you used to get it from water, like running water in the river, or like how?
No, you couldn't even do that. It's not because of the diet. It's because your environment. If you put a fish in a dirty fish bowl, it doesn't matter what you feed that fish; it's going to die.
So
our fish bowl
is toxic.
Our fish bowl's dirty.
Yes.
So
it's
our
more
air is
environment.
dirty, and I mean, even when you go into your house, it's house even like this, as beautiful it is. Once it heats up, the chemicals that were used to construct a house, which we didn't have, 75 years ago, are toxic. So we have toxicity in our environment we didn't have 50, 70 years ago.
Because if you were walking around like 50, 60 years ago, you're playing outside, you're touching the dirt, you're engaging, and even the food wasn't so chemically enhanced or packaged, you were picking up the silica from
the soil.
And what you were interacting with.
It's in the soil, it's everywhere.
And now it's like we're so far removed, unless you probably went and lived out in the woods consistently.
Is the most important mineral.
So the way your body works is really, you're made up of water, sand, silica, bacteria, parasites. We used to say viruses, but that's all bullshit too. And the idea is that when you reduce the primary, silica is the baseline. And if your silica is low, you don't absorb calphos, selenium, and all the other elements. Without elements, you don't process minerals properly. Without minerals, you don't hold water properly. Minerals and water make the conductivity through the body, and we're a fluid adaptive biological computing system. We're an organic crystal. And if one of those elements is off, your body will find a way around it. That's what's happening for you. You've got a good hormone level, but you have a vitamin D deficiency. That means that one of the pathways is not working, and that's electricity.
Interesting.
And we actually interviewed, you remember this? We interviewed the world leading expert in vitamin D 6 years ago.
Yeah.
It was way before we even did all this content. And they were giving 1 million units of vitamin D to people. And they did it over 90 days, and people were reversing all these issues in their body.
1 million over 90 days, or 1 million in a couple cities?
Daily. Yeah.
Over 90 days.
It was one of the only,
And then wait, so this is my question to you, because I've been telling everyone to take 20,000, 30,000 a day. That's what I've been doing. My only concern is calcification from taking it. So
Calcification can only happen. Calcification is caused by fluoride, chlorides, chemicals in your body. Calcification can happens when the body is running mineral deficient, because what happens is you get an inflammation from moving. Like a lot of people like a bunion on your foot. So they're walking on their foot and they're putting extra pressure that creates water. That water then, what happens is the body says there's damage there, so it sends calcium to there to calcify the water. And that's where calcification will not happen when your body's properly mineralized. It can only happen when there's an imbalance of minerals in the body.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's basically, just like you said, everything, I came from the other side. Everything that I was taught about health is completely backwards. And part of our strategy in helping people is to, think about the basics of what we're taught. Bones are structure. None of the bones in your body touch except for your teeth, your rib cage, and your ears. It's not structure. We can even further go ahead and say, well, your brain doesn't move, your brain and muscles don't move fast enough to walk. And you can demonstrate that scientifically. So the brain doesn't generate movement. The movement generates from the field, and we can actually anecdotally prove that. Those belief systems change everything in the way that we see our body. And like the biggest psyop is who we are and how we're constructed. And after that, everything that we're told makes us weak and dismantles us. I've watched over 1,000 gallbladders grow back, and I just said simply, in medicine, we cut your liver when it's necrotic, when it's dying. If we get it in time, we cut it in half, it grows back in 6 months. And my whole thing is, if a liver grows back, a gallbladder grows back. Why not? Liver is more important than gallbladder. You can do without a gallbladder, you can't do without a liver. Yeah, so these are all basic premises that were part of our programming, and that's why we're talking to you.
And this is what's super interesting is what you said earlier, and I want to go back to that. You said, if I create a trauma in somebody, I can create a second identity for them and merge them.
Yep.
Yeah.
What kind of trauma are you eliciting in that moment? If you're working with someone, because that was super interesting.
Yeah, asphyxiation. So I make them hold their breath. So the process is I hypnotize them. I have everyone in the room exhale at the same time, because some people have bigger lung capacity. And then I make them hold their breath for like a minute and a half, to where like people are turning blue. And then I'll create a new identity. And the reason I use asphyxiation is because it takes 6 to 8 months for a neural pathway to be formed, unless you use it in the amygdala. Unless it's traumatic, then it's instant, as far as we know. So I use the technology that we technically know, and I make it permanent. Instantly change the pathways in the brain.
It'd be interesting. To go through a little example with you today.
That's impossible to do now, because there's got to be prep, and it's also really, really dangerous to do in a non-controlled environment.
Well, I don't mean.
But hypnosis, I'm down to do. Any hypnosis, I'm happy to hypnotize you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. But that process is
actually, I've been doing it the whole time. You're all hypnotized right now.
General hypnosis, that'd be.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
You're a good subject anyways.
So let's double down on this, because I think this is super important. So you're having people hold their breath until a point where it basically signals to the body that there's a trauma.
That's trauma on its own.
Yeah. So then you said you plan an identity. Like, what is that?
Well, then you create a new identity, and then you program it.
How?
In that moment of them going, I can't breathe, and they gasp, then you start to.
They don't gasp. I tell them when they can breathe. But
I want to reverse engineer how you're doing this, because you said earlier before we had
the only thing I'll tell you is the variables here are, if someone has PTSD, any BPD, any other trauma responses, doing this could put them in psychosis. Mm-hmm. So it's not the best thing to get rid of trauma is something I called MER. It's an NLP technique, but I could teach that to you guys in 5 seconds. You have them imagine themselves in a movie theater, looking at the screen, and then you have them kind of float back out of their body to the projector room. So they're watching themselves in a disassociated place, projector room, looking at themselves in the theater, looking at the screen. And on the screen, you play forwards whatever traumatic thing they've been through, or compilation of those things. And then you have them rewind it in black and white. So you play it in color, rewind it in black and white. At the beginning, they may not feel that much, and then over a few minutes, as they get deeper into this, the emotion might start to spike, go to like a 10, or automatically to go down to a 0. It goes down to like a 1, a 2, a 5. You move them into the movie theater, have them play it in color, rewind it in black and white, play it in color, rewind it in black and white. You just keep doing this. And then you have them see it in the theater from like a third person perspective, as if they're there. Play it in color, rewind it in black and white, keep going through that. It should be overwhelming. It should be like fast. Play it in color, rewind it. Play it in color, rewind it black and white. Play it in color, rewind it black and white. And then you get to them seeing it in first person, and you play it all the way through till it's at a 0. You're like 0 to 10, what are you feeling? They're like, I'm at a 0. And then after that, you say, okay, now play it all the way through, and then have them see like a new future where things work out. Play it all the way through to that future, and then, now they have a new identity, and you've gotten rid of any trauma. And you ask them to try and bring up that trauma, and they cannot feel anything. Literally, you've completely dismantled, and you can get rid of all trauma in 10 minutes doing that. Any trauma. It's like so easy, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it reminds me of like there's this process that I was a Scientologist for many years, but there's a process of people that created an offshoot of like having someone basically jump into an experience, jump out of the experience, jump into it.
It's called fractionation.
And then even switch identities. Imagine someone else having this problem. Imagine yourself having this problem. Imagine someone else having this problem.
This is all fractionation.
Yeah,
Fractionation is deepening, is the fastest way to deepen someone in hypnosis. It's taking them in and out of trance over and over and over again. And you can do that through this process by going from one reality to another reality, back to this reality, back to this reality, in and out, going into the experience, out of the experience. Alarm clock, you snooze it, you go back to sleep, you go in deeper. You wake up, you snooze it again, you go in even deeper. That's called fractionation. Now, an interesting thing about what I just taught you guys, MER, they did a study with cognitive behavioral therapy, and they took people with PTSD, and they said that 72% of people who went through cognitive behavioral therapy got rid of their PTSD after 24 sessions, and 38% of those had it come back.
Yeah.
MER, they did 6 sessions, 100% got rid of it, 0% came back.
Yeah.
This technique. So
Can you do it yourself?
If you make a recording.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to have a stimulus.
You have to have the stimulus coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to overwhelm you. You have to bypass the conscious mind for this to work.
So I have a really good question after this, but one of the things, as you were saying, is like you're creating a new identity. How are you doing that?
Well, look, just by getting rid of trauma, you've already created a new identity. Because
you've cleaned the slate.
Well, because now you're not seeing trauma in the future. So the result now has changed. So that's already a new identity. And then you can kind of put whatever you want there. That's the fastest way to do it. The second fast way to do it is to make someone fall in love. And you could play into whatever their current identity is and whatever their blueprint is. But if love to them is more important than anything, now you can alter their future, because in order to keep that feeling of love without the pain, they have to change. So that's another way. The third fastest way to do it is to give someone confidence. Give them the confidence to think that they now can have that life. So if my identity is I'm going to die and I have cancer, I'm a cancer survivor, or I'm a cancer victim, I see myself dying, that's an identity. Well, now if I have the confidence to think I'm going to get cured, that's a new identity.
Yeah.
So it's really just belief. That's the fastest way. Belief, your future belief is the fastest shift in identity. What I'm talking about is like what you're asking questions about is so much deeper than that. It's the next time I'm doing it is May 17th to 18th. I have 30 people in the room, like if you were to go through it, you'd understand how many layers are there. It's not as And also, I don't want to say too much on online, not because I'm worried someone will take it, but because I'm worried people will try to do it and f people up.
Yeah, you need to understand it.
Yeah, because I mean you're shifting layers of. Because there's like it's an onion. There's like this identity's on top of this identity. You created this one.
And doing what I'm doing now, like this thing alone, if you do it incorrectly, can really f someone up.
Yeah, you're writing a program on top of programs, and you have to understand it.
Yeah.
And which goes to my next question.
All right, let's hear it.
The movie Inception.
Yeah.
Okay, they're putting a dream within a dream within a dream. They have
that's
music.
that's part of the inductions I do.
So
hypnotize someone and then hypnotize them in hypnosis, and then hypnotize them in hypnosis again, and then hypnotize them in hypnosis again. But you have to be really sharp, because when you're doing this, if you really want to make sure they're not in a trance still, you have to take them out of that trance, then this trance, then this trance, and you got to remember everything you said. So a lot of the time you got to be on it.
Yeah. So was that movie kind of showing us there's a process to hypnotizing people? It was like showing this is one of the ways that you can rewrite the subconscious mind.
You can do it any way you want. That's what's funny. It's like hypnosis is up. You could talk to someone in a mystical forest like some people do, and then they change. And you could talk to people that won't work for me, right?
Yeah.
But like
But why go to that depth in that movie to show it in that way? There must be something that they were trying to show us.
Well, I think Christopher Nolan is, in my opinion, one of the best writers in the world. But you look at him, he's the deeper you go into a movie, the more in trance you are. You're going in deeper and deeper and deeper. So by the end, you know, you're in like the deepest layer of a dream. You have no idea if you're in the dream or not, right? You're like mind fucked in that movie. You're literally mind fucked, and you're looking at this thing. Is it spinning? Is it not spinning? You know, the end, they even leave it off, you know, making you think like, was it a dream? Was it not a dream? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Right? The whole point being is like, you can't tell what's going on. And he has to have some awareness of psychology, because the deeper you go into the movie, the more in trance you are, the more he starts doing things in the movie that are kind of crazy. Like even in the movie Interstellar, same thing.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to cry at the beginning, but at the end, you know, you're like, it's like heart-wrenching. That movie for sure actually rewired my brain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I watched that a few months ago, and I was actually shocked. I mean, I used to even work in the film industry, but I forgot how good that movie was and how crazy emotional I got by the end of it. Because you're kind of like, okay, cool, he's doing this, but all of a sudden the way it like...
It's just time with family, and like, you know, at one point you see your daughter, you miss them, and your son, and you come back and everyone's dead, and your daughter's on her deathbed, and she's older than you, and you missed her whole life. And it's just like, it's the most it shows love in the most selfless way, and the sacrifices, and sometimes even when you do love them, you know, like, it's just a very interesting.
Yeah, it's so layered.
It's super layered, extremely layered. But it just shows you how the reason I think I'm the best hypnotist in the world is because of the layers that I incorporate everything into. It's not just one understanding. You know, most people just understand hypnosis. They don't understand physiology, psychology. Like, I understand that if your glucose levels are lower, blood sugar levels are lower, you're fasted, your suggestibility goes up, right? Like, the electrolytes go up, suggestibility goes up. Hydration goes up, suggestibility goes up. You're tired, suggestibility goes up. Like, there's just so many things that you know, I understand there's layers to it, plus priming, plus how can I stack the deck to make sure you get the best result, you know? When I was 18, I was already very, very good. Like, I could get very similar results, but it's just that extra 5% that I've refined has changed it.
So I hope you've been enjoying the episode so far. We're gonna take a pause, and we're gonna take 6 breaths together to just come back to our bodies, come back to center before we continue the episode. So you're gonna take a deep breath in through the mouth. Breathe in. Breathe in more. More. And exhale. Breathe in through the mouth. More. More. And exhale. I hope you feel reset and recharged. Let's get back into it. So you said you went to school for this.
Yeah.
But that didn't really show.
It was a waste of time, yeah.
So what?
Because I wanted to walk up to people and knock them out. I wanted people to do whatever I wanted. And when I went to school, they're like, yeah, you can't hypnotize people who don't want to be hypnotized. You can't hypnotize people quickly. You know, they never showed us like what a shock induction is. They're like, oh yeah, that's stage hypnosis. It's not the same. You're way better because you're going to be a hypnotherapist, which is total horseshit. Like, a stage hypnotist is much more skilled than a hypnotherapist.
Yeah, you'd have to be, because you have to...
It's like improv.
Yeah, you're improv.
He is just a much more skilled hypnotist, and he could do way more than the regular person. And, you know, they just create this like belief that, you know, this Dunning-Kruger effect, that you're more qualified than you are. And then they're like, well, and also, ironically, in the same note, say it takes 8 sessions to make someone maybe lose weight. And I can understand if I'm teaching them that curriculum to make them make more money, that's how they make money, fine. I could see that, you know, being a profitable thing. But for me, it was like, I'm not going to spend 8 sessions making someone lose weight. Like, they're going to lose weight within 30 seconds. I'm going to make someone quit vaping in 30 seconds. Like, I'm going to hypnotize someone in 2 seconds. Like, to me, that's what I wanted to get done. It wasn't let's get this really slow thing, work with someone for an hour and a half. There's no hour and a half session. 10 minutes max. Unless you come to Mental Millionaire, which is that event, that's a lot longer, but that's a completely different process that they didn't invent. No one, you can't learn that. Go study, you know, Project Artichoke. Go study, you know, all these other things, and you kind of get, I mean, they still don't, all the files that are released don't even include that, but, you know, you could do research on it.
So we're delivering a message that people can heal themselves.
Yeah.
And that they can get younger. What would you do if you were to be a consultant and say, here's the best way to program the world in your philosophy? in self-healing.
I would call out their current belief system and the current propaganda and the current things that show you, hey, here's what the science says, here's what this says. It shows that everything's linear, right? I would literally be like, hey, up until now we've been told that we can't age, or that we can't reverse aging. Well, they've been able to do it in mice. You guys have biologically been able to reverse their age. Like if his hair starts turning back black, okay, and he starts looking like he's 40 again, and then he suddenly starts looking like he's 30 again, it's undeniable evidence. But it doesn't happen like that. Like people, you also have to kind of remove what people think, what does that actually mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
And no one's used to looking at biomarkers. No one's used to looking at their blood tests or the blood panels. If you're able to show people, hey, here's what your blood predicts and tells me about your body. If you get a blood test, this is what it's telling you. And if you look over time, here's what it's telling you. That, your inflammation's down, this is happening. It changes people's perception. But a big problem is people don't realize how fast aging happens when you get sick.
Yeah.
And they don't realize how quickly and for 20 years you've been having, your blood has been starting to clot. Now you have a blood clot. Overnight you have a stroke. Oh, now I realize health is important. Oh, now I have a heart attack. Now I realize health is important. But like when a kid's young, if you just look at, this is how most people think. They haven't really evolved beyond their youth. They'll go vape, they'll go do drugs. Oh, it's just fun, like I'll recover. They think about recovery in short term. They don't think about long-term effects, right? And if you look at the brain is the slowest aging organ. The brain could live, if our body survived, the brain could be 250, 300 years old. And the only reason the brain even ages, it's not supposed to age. The only reason it ages is because of neuroinflammation. So the point is if I were consulting you, I would highlight all of the limiting beliefs people have. And then I'd be like, look, what if it was possible to reverse aging? Well, they've done it in mice. And they've also done it in human beings. Now, you might think reversing aging means you don't have wrinkles in your face anymore. And you think that it changes your hair color. And you think it does this. But that's not what it means. Here's what it actually means. When you age, it causes these diseases, these diseases, these diseases. And at the moment, our technology hasn't been able to make you go from 80 years old to 50. But what it has been able to do is make you go from 80, and then instead of dying at 81, you go from 80 to 130. So we extend your lifespan. And in that sense, if you look at aging being reversed that way, yeah, you're reversing aging because you bought yourself 50 years. You went back 50 years. Or you at least slowed it down. Or you at least paused it.
Yeah.
So how does that work? And then I would kind of explain it in a way that's digestible. Once they come into the rabbit hole, then you go a little bit further. Then you can kind of expand their paradigm. But you can't go to the woo-woo.
Yeah. So what if we didn't have any of that?
What do you mean?
What if we didn't have evidence yet?
You do.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, what I'm going at is, let's take a completely different approach.
Just from psychology.
Yeah.
Well, then you could just highlight, then you need things that do have evidence. Like you need people to believe it. There has to be something logical. So the logic is this, is like, if everyone knows someone who's healed their body miraculously. Everyone knows someone that got a diagnosis or terminal cancer or something and they weren't able to survive. Well, what we've learned about science, and we've learned this time and time again, is that what we think is the truth at the moment always ends up being disproved. People used to think it was safe to put asbestos all over your house. They used to think it was like if you look at medieval times, they would give you quite literal like lead, or they'd give you mercury, they'd give you poison, just thinking that you would heal. Like they used to tell people to be in dead whale bodies and sit there for 2 days. It was called, in the decomposing, whale, thinking it'd cure like a lot of their issues. Yeah, it's just like they had crazy radical ideas. And right now we've gotten more refined and some of these things work, but we're still far away from really understanding medicine. But what we can understand is that why do some people, same background, same this, live way longer? Why do people in blue zones live significantly longer than people who aren't? There are things that are predictable and there are things that are repeatable that everyone could do that make you live longer. We all know that if you smoke and you drink milkshakes every day and you have McDonald's all day long, you're probably going to live a shorter life. And we also know that if you're constantly drinking, your liver is going to die, right? We also know that if you eat too much sugar, you're going to get diabetes. So there are things we know, and there's also things we know that do the opposite, which actually extend your lifespan significantly. So instead of maybe using the word reverse aging, you say, like, hey, we're currently amongst the first people who can live to 180, 200.
We had a strategy in clinic we started in 2012, which is first eliminate the stress. So we showed people a stress reduction, which they felt better. They came back into their bodies. They could remediate trauma, and said, repeat that over time. And if you repeat that over time, you'll feel better, you'll feel younger, and then the habit of the body will be less. And then there's a repeatable thing. If you remove stress, then that actually is the one thing that causes disease. So that was the strategy that we had through a clinic, and it worked. It got people to that point where they would reduce stress multiple times per day.
Most people have stress. Most people are anxious. So that's relatable. Another thing that's relatable is people's biggest fear is what? Dying. So you're like, hey, how do you live longer? Right? The one thing that's certain is we're all going to die. So how do you live longer? Well, for the first time ever in history, we've cracked the code. Like you got to think about the states that you're creating them. So if I was consulting you, I would say novelty, a hook.
Yeah.
I would show him and be like, guess his age, Yeah, he looks like he's 30. So it's crazy. But I would show your before and after, right? I'm sure you have it too. And you could just go down the line and you could say, okay, here's the marketing. Here's what it looks like. Like it looks like it's attention, and then you have to build confidence. Like the confidence is it can be done because here's what we know.
Building ladders.
Yeah, exactly. And you're explaining like analogies, like you're comparing blue zones. You're comparing people who live longer. Then you're giving common sense examples, like if someone smokes, we know that they're probably going to get lung cancer. If someone drinks, we know their liver is going to fail. We understand that kidney failure comes from a number of things. For example, if you're diabetic, kidney failure is imminent, right? Your pancreas is not going to work right. If you're constantly eating refined foods, you're suddenly not going to have, you're going to have insulin resistance, or your body's just going to be diabetic. Like there's a million things you could highlight that people are like, yeah, that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense. And then the more things that make sense,
The easier it is.
well, the less they start to question what you're saying.
You just defined our whole process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we did. I mean, we have a worldwide movement that's growing, and it was based on that process.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, it's exponential, right? The more you do, the more it grows.
And now we have
I would label
tens
your
of
process.
thousands of people producing results which are medically related, and we highlight the results.
I would even create a new identity. I would even call your followers something. Like I would call them like,
Fascist maneuver.
No.
No, I want to hear what an outside.
Like I would give them. Like if you went into the fountain of youth, who are you now? Like you're immortal. Like I would use a word that's like really already has a strong connotation. Like literally immortal. Like
The immortals.
yeah, just something crazy. People like it's almost controversial.
Yeah,
but-
it has to have a twinge of controversy,
Yeah.
right? Because it has to catch people's
Like
But
hey,
why? So is that because we're locking in the future self?
well, it's because you're playing on their biggest fear, which is dying. You're playing on something that no one believes is possible, which is living forever. And it also is on brand and it correlates. But now it's like, yeah, I'm literally immortal. Like I feel like God. Like for the first time ever, you get to be like a God. Like your biological body doesn't have to fail. Your biological body doesn't have to age. The number one limitation to our bodies has been that they die. And if you look at jellyfish, they don't age. You look at lobster, they don't age unless they die from natural causes. They're not going to die. And the only reason they do die is because they do die of natural causes. Eventually, their nature, they're in an environment where they will eventually die. So if you don't get killed by anything, then what can you do? Well, that's kind of the idea. Well, if animals can do it in their genetics, in their DNA, what is it about aging, right? And they talk about the chromosomes and parts of the chromosomes that age. It's like, look, as much as we understand, we're only looking at one side of the aisle. There's other things that naturally that you could do that instantly prevent you from aging or reverse aging. As a matter of fact, I would even say it doesn't reverse aging. It takes you back to the age you're supposed to be at. So you think you're supposed to be 30, but really you've aged to 50. So what we have to do is we have to remove all of that and put you back to your 30.
There's a spiritual principle. The body's never supposed to be over the age of 28.
Really?
Yeah, and that's actually highlighted in many spiritual practices. It's just that we have a belief system that we do age because our grandparents and great-grandparents, they actually, when they expired, they actually looked young. And
they moved much
and they
better.
moved more. Yeah.
We talk about so many amazing things, but what I'm curious about, like what makes you do all this? Like what drives you? Like what's your heart in this?
I love seeing people. My biggest thing is I was always taught that it wasn't necessarily easy and that it's hard to kind of get the results you're looking for, and that it's like everything that wasn't possible, I proved to myself is. And there's not a single thing anyone's ever told me that's not possible that I wasn't able to prove them wrong, right? And it wasn't to prove them wrong, it was to prove to me that it is possible. I just don't want to believe. I don't want to adopt these limiting beliefs. I have a really big problem with anything limiting. Like when someone's like, oh, I don't think that's a good idea, that's not possible, it triggers something inside of me that says no. And And I see other people get defeated, and I see them give up. And I've seen people have massive dreams and goals, and they just don't pursue them. And I see their quality of life, and I see them becoming unhappy, and I see them literally suffering. So for me, I've seen people who've struggled with trauma for 60 years. You know, they've been addicted to something their whole life, and they come to me, and I get rid of it in 10 minutes, 5 minutes, in 30 minutes. You know, and forever their life is better. And like, if it's this easy for me to help someone, and I see the quality of their life go from whatever it was to the best it could ever be overnight, why not do that for people as much as possible? Like, I want everyone to be happy. I want everyone to enjoy. I don't want everyone to be stressed. I want to remove suffering. So that's what motivates me the most, is just seeing people get the best results and feeling good. Like, you know, I have a client, I just found this out yesterday. She got diagnosed with stage 4, you know, like spine cancer. Like she's had cancer in her spine to the point where the cancer got so bad she couldn't move her arms or her legs, and she became quadriplegic, and she's now recovered. She's moving, she's like walking around, and they told her she'd never walk again, and that was it, she's done. But she just didn't believe it, you know? She's got like a really strong mindset. So seeing that, to me, is crazy. But I look at it, and she's so young. It's really interesting to me that she's less than 40, and she has that. So, you know, it got me really curious, and I think it's really cool because it happened just recently. Now I'm here. Yeah. You know, I don't think getting cancer is an accident. And, you know, as much as people say it's genetic, there has to have been something. Even if you're over-optimizing your health, you're doing too much.
There is no gene that causes cancer. That's a lie.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's genetic. It's got to be habitual. It's got to be.
There is zero gene. I ask this of professionals all the time. So what gene causes cancer? That means it's not a disease, it's a disorder.
Yeah. So, by the way, there's no gene that causes also mental problems either. Yeah. You know, it's all.
Yeah, we're on the same page. I mean,
it's just you sat there. Oh well, you know, my bipolar runs in my family. So in other words, you're emulating the behavior you learned as a kid. Yeah. You just studied it. You know, you're emulating the habits of eating and diet. Like, oh, you know, well, being overweight runs in my family. Heart disease runs in my family. Yeah, because you're fat. Because you guys eat like pigs all the time. You order fast food. You order Buffalo Wild Wings. You order Pizza Hut. That's your diet. Of course you're gonna be fat. What the?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's exactly. It's like it's not some inherited gene. It's just like you're mirroring behavior.
Yeah, you just have bad behavior.
Well, even practitioners who study a discipline, like if you help people with cancer, they end up getting cancer themselves because they're in that energy all the time. They're always talking about it. They're helping people in it. They're sympathizing.
Yeah, they're also seeing people die over it. It's scaring them. It's becoming.
And then they end up getting the disorder that they help treat. It happens all the time in practitioners.
Yeah. Especially in monofocus.
So fascinating.
Yeah.
I wonder, what do you think it is?
It's exactly what you said. It's programming. It's belief systems. They create an identity that, and if you're around it, I mean, there's a lot that goes to it. And what we've been doing is unraveling it. But you know, my belief system is that all diseases are emotional.
I mean, I'm very similar. Do you guys, just a quick question. Do you guys think that you guys would ever get cancer?
No. First of all, cancer is, we're going to go jump off. We have somebody coming in later this week that has all kinds of government research. Literally, we've got 30 million views on a couple posts that happened, that we put out 3 weeks ago. This guy that we're bringing back, this doctor, and he just shows government data that just specifically says, when you do this, you don't get this. And cancer is one of them. And all diseases are emotional.
Why do you think someone who's super healthy, in shape,
they're not healthy?
Well, they look healthy, right?
Yeah, but that's what you just said. So
it's like, what is their
physically
emotional life
healthy, but you have to be physically, emotionally, and perceptually. And this back to what your perception is, which is your story. You cannot, health is not, we've said healthy looks, listen, I've sat in a clinic, people say they've been healthy their whole life, they went and got a diagnosis and they died 2 years later. My whole thing is they're not healthy. Because physical healthy is only one portion of it, but you have to be emotionally healthy and perceptually healthy. It's a triangle.
See, I like how you corrected my frame, because when I said they look healthy, the limiting belief, the limit in my perception of trying to figure out what's wrong is that I perceived them as healthy when they weren't healthy.
Let me give you something specific, okay? Working in a clinical environment, testing the top athletes in the world. The ones who look the healthiest on subclinical lab works are the sickest.
Why?
Because our version of looking healthy is ripped and muscular. And ripped and muscular is also dehydrated. And so we dehydrate to get that procedure. Dehydration, water is a major component of the human body. And if you reduce the major component, the major functioning component of the human body, if it's reduced, then by default, you're not healthy. And that was something we discovered in clinic, and we just because I was the guy that was ripped in bodybuilding all my life, and I'm like, I can now see it in other people and say, they aren't healthy. The ones who I thought were unhealthy are actually healthy.
So what body fat percentage for a male?
But there was a lady who...
There is no body fat.
Remember, there was a lady that they tested.
There's a story. So we have lab work, subclinical. Blood is a way of measuring that tells you how close you are to death, technically. Because your blood is always, your body's always making your blood right. So it's not the best mechanism. It's like a speedometer versus an odometer, telling you the blood tells you how fast you're going, but not how hard you're working to get there. So we use subclinical measures, and this lady came in, and when they would come in and test, one of the things that we would look at is that if they looked like they were unhealthy, I would tell them, because they're going to get a test in their email that shows all these red and yellow, and I don't want them to freak out and call me at midnight. So I said, look, you're going to have a lot of red and yellow in your test, and that's normal. What we're going to do is we're going to bring that all back into balance. So she gets her test back. She comes in. I get her test back, and it's all green. She's overweight. And I'm like, I called the lab and said, your equipment's wrong. So they retested all the equipment. We canceled all the tests that we did that day. We brought everybody back in to retest. And everybody's test was exactly the same. And hers was green. It's the only test I had that was all in the green, but she was overweight. And I sat with this for a long time, because I'm like, how, as a evidence-based clinical practitioner, how is this possible? The only thing I could attribute is that she was the happiest person I knew. And I thought, LA, bullshit. But I got to know her over 7 years, and then I had another one, same thing. And then I had a third one. So I had 3 people that I could identify that were legitimately happy people, but biologically, every measure of society should say that they're unhealthy. But their happiness was the only determining factor that made them healthy. And that's where it shifted my paradigm or my belief as a practitioner. And I said, there's more to this. And because I had a belief, I grew up that you had to work out, you had to look good, you had to be muscle. All these things had to be true for you to be healthy. And I've completely reversed that belief system now. It's all about how you feel and what you perceive, how you feel, and how you emote. Energy,
Frequency,
emotion.
which is the energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's in a state of like happiness, and she's not getting affected so much by the stress.
Yeah.
Because usually a lot of guys who are so addicted to a look,
They're the guys who die the first.
If you look at if they actually look at their viewpoint, it's like they're constantly spending all day thinking about like, wait, how much calories was in this, and I got to stay in this. If I get too much fat here,
They're the worst.
they're more stressed.
So that's my question: is what's the ideal body fat for a body that's healthy, optimized?
Well, let me reframe that. There is no ideal body fat. It's literally how you perceive it and what you feel.
So if you're ripped and you perceive it as healthy, you're healthy and happy.
I have not seen somebody who's ripped, who, when you test the function of their organs, are actually functioning well, because ripped is dehydrated. That's the one
ripped
thing.
is under what percentage?
If you're under 6 to 8%.
What about 9 or 10? Like you still have abs, but you're not.
Yeah, 9 to 10, you're probably still slightly dehydrated. But here, grab my body. Really grab up here.
Okay.
See that?
Hydration.
Grab my ear. That's a 6-year-old. That's hydrated. That's 80%. That's where we're supposed to be.
But when you say hydrated, you're not just talking about drinking water.
It's mineralization. It's holding water. So
what do you think about salt or sodium?
Sodium is one of the most important things. You're a biological battery, and reduction of sodium actually reduces the flow of electricity in the body.
Well, I know when you take an IV, it's just sodium water.
Right. The first thing they give you every time you go to the hospital is sodium.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally everything that we've learned about health and everything that we're taught about health is actually literally wrong.
So the more sodium you have, the better. The more salt,
And
electrolytes.
you're a salt battery.
Yeah, you're a salt battery. Like literally, the way that we conduct electricity, salt is like one of the most important things. If we say what is an ideal health, like what is a healthy human? It's not the way. It's a component. There's a component to how you look, because that also has a component to how you emotion and how you perceive, but it's a triangle. And if any one of those triangles is imbalanced, then there's going to be some issue that starts to show up.
What do you think about muscle mass?
I've gone from 225 to 235 pounds my whole life to 185 pounds with as little muscle as possible. And my biological age is -2, so I'm reversing. I was a bodybuilder in the 80s. I went national to go pro in the 80s. And back then, nobody bodybuilded. And nobody was worried about muscle, very few people at all. Since then, everybody's been focused on muscle, but and getting ripped. And conversely, every disease in the history of mankind is at its peak. If you just step back and look at the bigger picture, people were healthier in the 50s and 60s than they are today, and people were hydrated then too. Their bodies look different.
I'll give you an example. My current goal right now is to get to 9 to 10% body fat.
How about this? Instead of a percentage of body fat, how about you just get to a way that you want to look?
That's what I'm saying. I don't care about the percentage. I care about the look.
Okay, so then let's take off that condition that you said 9 to 10%.
Well, I've never reached.
What if you were at 12% and you look the way you want to look?
Yeah, that's possible, and that'd be fine. And to be honest,
that's super important.
Yeah, I care less about the number, and I care less about the number on the scale. Like I've noticed. So I'll give you an example. 3 weeks ago, I just said, okay, I shaved my head, and I said, all right, I'm going to the gym. Because I was going to the gym consistently for like 7 months, and then I started cutting. And when I was cutting, I was doing the typical protocol, and I felt like shit. And I'm like, I literally can't get out of bed. I don't have energy. I cannot sustain this physique. And I associated overall going to the gym to this. And I'm like, well, so I just stopped, and I started feeling good again. And I'm like, well, I'd rather feel good than do this, right?
Bingo.
And
you feel good long enough, you create a vision in your head of what you want to look like, and you'll get there.
Yeah, so that's exactly the goal now. The goal is like, look, I've been feeling fantastic. I'm not starving myself. I eat literally whatever I want. I focus mostly on protein, macros are majority protein. Once I'm done eating protein, if I'm still a little bit hungry, I'll drink water, make sure I'm hydrated, and have some kind of healthy carbs, but not too much, some fats. Because I know if my brain function goes down, if my energy levels go down, I'm not eating properly. And that's all I've been doing differently. And also obviously cardio, because cardio, I've noticed just more oxygen in my blood, I feel way better. Just when you're in shape, you feel way better. And I'm melting fat off my body.
I cannot correlate, after working with the top athletes in the world, I cannot correlate diet to weight. I cannot correlate diet to health.
Really?
Now, over time, if you eat McDonald's, if you take chemicals out and you mineralize your body, actually your craving cycle changes and you start to crave things that are good for you and that your body needs. There's an intuitive nature to the body that's been disrupted by a chemical intrusion. And that's why if you go back in the 70s and you look at the fitness in the school, when Kennedy put in the fitness program in the schools, all the kids were lean, all the kids were healthy. But today that's not true. So we have been sold a bill of goods of how our body works. I was part of selling that bill of goods to people because I was a bodybuilder and said, this is the way you need to look. But take a look at all the bodybuilders that were around in the 70s and the early 80s. They're all either dead or horribly disfigured.
I've had, Schwarzenegger's had 4 heart surgeries, I think.
Yeah, and so this is the first time in human history where we can actually look at a movement pattern in a body that changes the genetics and the health of the body in a period of time. Normally you see that in the 2nd, 3rd generation. We can show you right now that the people that did these activities at that time are dead or unhealthy right now today. And we can see that within a single lifetime. That's never happened before in human history. So, but we have a media engine that says having muscle is healthy. Well, I have the least amount of muscle I've had since I was 13 years old.
We still have a lot of muscle.
It's actually not muscle. It looks like muscle. It's fascia. I have the least amount of muscle that I've had since I was 13 years old. I am by far the strongest I've ever been.
Do you exercise?
None at all. I do our fascial maneuvers, that's it. That was me. I'm changing a paradigm because I was part of changing a paradigm which is actually hurting America and the world right now, which is building muscle.
Do you think building muscle?
I don't care about muscle. I look good.
You look great.
But I can put you on my back and run up a hill. I couldn't do that when I was 225 and benching 450.
Well, so that's the thing. I actually feel like I'm too heavy. I'm 6'2.5", and I'm 200 pounds. Yeah. And I want to be around 185.
That's my weight right now.
Well, I think it's interesting if you go to even the blue zones. They have community. They have no chemicals. They're in nature all day. They're walking a lot. They have purpose.
They're walking up hills.
Yeah, they're walking up hills. They're walking on uneven surfaces. They're barefoot. They're in the sun. They're touching the ground. They're grounding. They don't have chemicals in their body. They have community. They have purpose for living. And they're the ones that are the healthiest. And even some of these indigenous tribes, there's our traditional tribe, I think, is one of the Instagram accounts. Those guys are all ripped, but not dehydrated ripped, just naturally in really good shape, because they're hunting for their food.
Picking up stuff, running around, grabbing stuff.
They're just moving around in nature, but when we limit ourselves to this movement, we're creating patterns in the body, like programs in the body, and then the body eventually optimizes that program, but that program isn't optimal for living healthy or for feeling good in the body.
One of my friends, he's super healthy, actually super healthy, and he's ripped year round. He believes that your heart rate should be at like 150, 160, almost the entire workout, no matter what you're doing. He's like, it's not about how heavy the weight is. So just keep your heart rate up.
So there's even like if you look at Dr. Gil Hedry on Winding the Human Heart, he'll tell you, think about how stupid this is. A muscle this big, if you cut an artery, you'll bleed 30 feet. We're a pressurized system like a siphon. That's constantly, the reason why blue zones, or they walk up hills, is because they're articulating their calves, which is the pump for the heart. It's a circulatory system. The heart doesn't circulate blood. The heart dams blood, spins it, and lets it go. And one of the top cardiologists in the world says that. He unwinds the heart, he takes it out and says, the heart doesn't even pump blood. It's stupid to think that it could. A muscle that big can pump that much pressure. Mechanically, it can't. We've been sold a bill of goods of how our body works. I don't even pretend to have the answers right now. I just have more questions that says all the things that I learned about the human body that made me a practitioner, none of them check out. Virtually none of them.
So what do you think about the heart?
I think the heart spins blood, it dams blood, and if you look at, literally, go watch Unwinding the Human Heart by Dr. Gil Hedry. It'll change your belief system forever. We have a circulatory system. That's why when we walk our calves, even mechanically, we've known the calves, they said it was a second heart, because the calves are pumping the blood in the circulatory system. It's like giving
What if your calves are really tight? What do you think about that?
You have restricted blood flow.
Interesting. And then therefore it's harder to breathe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when I release the fascia on your calves, the first thing you have is an increase in breath.
How do you do that?
Well, that's what our fascial maneuvers do.
And that's a movement? Or is
Yeah,
that
we can show you after.
Right now, just kick your chair back. Take your hand, put it underneath take your hands like this, put it underneath. Pull down and push your calf up, and then go forward, backwards, really pull. Forward, backwards, and round, like this. Move it a little bit, like this. Keep that knee locked if you can. Yeah, really pull and twist. Move it. Okay, now go like this. Pull up on the shin.
Can you do this every day or what?
Yeah. So just,
how long?
Just sit down.
How long do you do
What's
for?
happening to your breathing?
I'll tell you in a sec. My heart rate's up.
Yeah. And feel your right rib cage compared to your left one. Breathe. Which one feels more restricted?
Right. It's more restricted.
So just that simple thing, increase the blood volume through your heart and your lungs. And you didn't exercise, you didn't do any cardio. What you did is you made your body more efficient and you reduced the restrictions, so your body naturally moved to a higher process.
I have a friend, they have a chamber, I forgot what it's called, but it's an altitude chamber pretty much. And
not Randy, Bob, the one in Santa Monica.
In Palisades.
Yeah, in Palisades, yeah. We have a video of it. Like we went in and did, what's his name again?
Did they move into is it new space? It's right on the highway?
Yeah, it's right on the PCA.
Yeah, we went to this chamber before he moved over there.
Yeah.
And how was
Randy. Yeah, Randy, because Randy and I started, we were gonna build one into the Human Garage Clinic, in 2015. Fantastic, because pressurization, just like hyperbaric, is good. Hypo and hyper, because what it does is change pressurization in the body. The reason you get jet lagged when you get on an airplane is because of the pressurization. Your body can't adapt. So we do these movements on the airplane and no jet lag.
Really?
Yeah. We have a different way of looking at the human body. We don't have the ability from a scientific point of view to prove it scientifically the way that people look at science today. So what we've done is we've lived the results, we've shared it with millions of people, and they're publishing and sharing their medical results that are changing. And then over time, we have enough. Like, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of testimonials. Eventually, it's tens of millions of testimonials, and then science has to explain why it happens. So that we've gone the other way, because we have a belief system. And just like you said, we went out there to prove it. We showed before and afters. We gave people something that they could feel, that they can embody. When they embody something, then they have a greater belief. And we've just chipped away at it slowly, piece by piece by piece. But basically, the process you described is what we did.
Yeah, it's funny because I've had the same thing, with psychology. I have a completely different way of looking at it. And I think that, imagine you take an iPhone from 2007. It probably wouldn't even work today, to be honest. Probably literally wouldn't even function, barely make a phone call. And imagine taking now technology from 1930s and saying, this is what we should go learn. Well, that's really the technology we have for psychology. That's psychotherapy. It's over 100 years old. It's like,
That's everywhere in the human experience.
Yeah,
it doesn't even make
produce
sense.
results.
It doesn't produce results for shit. You go to a therapist for 7 years, nothing happens. You come to me for 10 minutes, your problem's gone. It's like, how did that work? It's like, because everyone, I'm not even special.
We go even further. The brain's not really in charge. The body's a computer, the brain's a processor. It runs programs. And you treat it like it runs programs, for sure. You reprogram it.
It's just a computer.
Yeah. And we see the body as a computer, the brain as the processing unit.
I mean, the body affects the brain.
Well,
If I
that
feel
was
like
what
shit,
you said earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that.
I mean, look, I have all the willpower in the world. And I can tell you, I was lean and I was happy with how I looked. But unsustainable. Could not do a seminar. Could not perform. I started just saying, this, I started eating. I'm like, energy's back. I feel amazing. I'm like, forget looking good. I didn't care. Yeah. And then, I'm like, there's got to be a way to do both. Because I see people who are lean.
Well, this is where I went. I do 20 to 30 minutes a day. I like to move in nature. I like to move more, but because of our current lifestyle, we've been traveling the world every 2 weeks. We're somewhere else. I haven't had the opportunity to live that part of my life, but I still do 20 to 30 minutes a day of these fascial maneuvers. And after 30 years of being in pain and dysfunction and becoming a practitioner and using all the...
I can't even touch my toes.
Well, I couldn't either, but...
Really?
Yeah.
How long
I
did it
couldn't
take?
even put my hands on my head.
Because of the lack of flexibility. Yeah. How long did it take to fix?
Well, the pain went away in 3 months. The function incrementally got better. Within a year and a half, 18 months, I was functioning better than I had at any point in my life in the previous 50 years.
Well, over the last year and a half. So I did keto December 2022. No, December of 2023 to 2024. Yeah. 6 weeks. All the inflammation in my body went away. And I realized inflammation is caused by carbohydrates holding on to water and holding on to water in the wrong places. So,
well, let me shift that a little bit. Mm-hmm. Inflammation is caused by the release of stress hormones, which happen when the body is restricted. So you can eat all the carbohydrates you want with an unrestricted body, and you're not going to get inflammation.
Probably. I haven't had it since.
So this is unrestricted. This is full range of motion. Can dislocate all my joints. I could never do that before, and I can eat all I want, but I'll take it a step further. I eat one meal a day generally, which is not even enough for a teenage, like a 13-year-old girl, and I function off that fantastically. But these were not true, and I also had to go through a period of time, and we fasted for 44 days. And we went through
a food fast, a full fast?
Full fast, yeah. Right down to 2 weeks without water, 4 weeks with water. But over a couple of years, I continued to fast until my body had reversed the programming of eating. And so I believe it's all programming. I believe that because if you stop eating completely, I mean, here's a radical shift. When you stop eating, and by the third day, your body's producing stem cells. Stem cells can become any cell in your body. They can become a muscle cell, a brain cell, a nerve cell. They can become a sperm. They can become an egg. So what we're saying is that everything that we need to repair our body happens when our body has no food in it. As soon as we put food in it, all that stops happening. Now, from just a pure scientific point of view, that's an interesting statement. That means that they question the body's self-healing when you don't have food. But the question is, why do we get skinny? I'm at the point I don't get skinny anymore. But if I stop eating, I might perform better.
So for how long can you go without eating before you absolutely like are feeling like shit?
No, as a matter of fact, I feel like when I do eat, that's why I hardly eat.
Really?
Yeah.
So
80% of your energy is used in the digesting, processing, elimination of food. That is not argued anywhere in science. So if 80% of my energy is being used to take the food in, then if I take less food in, I have more energy. Energy is life. So this is a reversing of a belief system. That's part of why we had you here, is because what we're looking at is how do you affect that mass scale, the reversing of a belief system?
I think it's just seeing a strategy with a result, right? So for example, what's the result I guess you want to give people? And then what's the strategy for that result? And I think a lot of people don't view health, like health has been, people have been brainwashed through health to see it the wrong way, the way you used to see it.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is recent.
If you just reframe
This is not what happened
for sure.
50, 75 years
Well, think
ago.
about how much money you make when everyone's sick. You know, it's just, and look at what they're selling now, testosterone and a bunch of other. You know.
Yeah, you know, and these are all things. Like I had a low testosterone count at 40, and you know, I tested my testosterone at the end of clinic in 2019 at 1200. And
Naturally.
Yeah.
Insane.
It is insane, but all the math that we have that tells us how our body works is based upon the average of society. And if the average drops, which it does, then we say that's normal. Like real simple ones. The average person breathes 15 to 16 breaths per minute. But clinically, after 12, you're hyperventilating. And right now, sitting here resting, I'm breathing 2 to 3.
Yeah, I breathe slow as well.
Yeah. So there's all these norms. I mean, this is a long, deep conversation. We were interested in talking to you because of your demonstrated ability to change perception, and hypnotism is really just allowing people to have a new perception over time.
It's a new paradigm. You're just moving someone from one paradigm to another.
And we've been shifting paradigm with people. And so it's interesting to talk to somebody who's doing it another way. But the more we talk, the more I see what we have done in our culture to achieve the result that we have worldwide.
I think you guys are already doing a great job. Like even listening to you talk to me, it's changing my paradigm entirely. You know, the only questions that would pop up if I was the typical person trying to follow you, it's how do I achieve the health result I'm looking to get?
So what we say is that here's a set of maneuvers. Reduce the stress in your body. If you reduce stress in your body over time, your body has more capacity to perform and heal. And if you do these, irrespective of what else you do, your body has more capacity. More capacity is whatever you want it to be. Mm-hmm. It could be more performance, more muscle, more skill. It could be more brain power. It could be better sleep. It could be better sex. But reduce, the world has this idea, say your body's a bathtub and water is your life force. The world has this idea that turning more water, if you're leaking water, which we are, we're losing our life force because it's going out the drain, all the modalities are saying turn on more water. And what we're saying is just plug the hole. We don't need the water because that water takes energy.
Yeah, people are symptom focused.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not looking at the problem.
Yeah, no, we've had an amazing conversation.
Yeah, we're at the end of
what
this
I'd love to do is give you the last word of something you'd like to impart to people.
Everything you've been taught, everything you've learned, everything you've grown up with is not reality, it's just the current reality. And if your objective is to eventually get closer to whatever the truth is, then you have to be open to things. And I think when I was younger, I was really ignorant. Anyone who would tell me anything, I didn't want to hear it. And in some ways at the time that helped serve me because I was ignorant to a lot of limiting beliefs, and it taught me how to kind of go down this path. And as I got older, I noticed I was hitting walls. And those walls were because of my ignorance. And I didn't want to adopt, or I knew everything. I thought I I knew better than everyone else. And I realized that as long as you stay open and you realize that there's so much more knowledge to learn, you really can change a lot. And the number one thing that everyone suffers from is, oh, my mom is sick, my parents have cancer, this is happening, I'm sick. Well, I think what you guys are going to allow people to do is prevent that from even happening. They say an ounce of prevention is worth pounds of cure, and I think everyone only changes when there's a problem. If you're just open to hearing the solution and you're producing hundreds of thousands of results, like you've said, obviously you're doing something right. I don't think any doctor, I don't think hospitals can say they've produced hundreds of thousands of results.
No.
So, so obviously you guys are doing something special.
Nobody's ever cured anybody. The human body cures itself.
Well, that's the point, is you guys are doing something special.
And cure implies that there's sickness, but we're not sick. The body's just talking to us. And if we don't listen, the body just
feedback.
talks louder.
Yeah.
And then if we don't listen over time, the body says, okay, I'm done.
What you've taught me today is the same feedback I have towards my brain and the way I look at psychology is the same feedback I need to have towards my body. Yeah.
Well, we're going to give you some supplements to go away with. How's that supplement doing, by the way?
It's good. I mean, I feel sharp. I was thinking about while you were talking to me, I'm like, damn, I'm really.
I was going to ask you earlier.
I was about to say, I'm locked in.
I saw when it kicked in. I was like,
So we're going to give you some supplements. I'd like to give you just a routine or two to do, something that takes 30 minutes a day, and
I'll do it.
And give that for 30 minutes.
I have a soccer field in my backyard. You know what I mean? Like I don't mind doing it. I'm super healthful. Before I came here, I was in the gym. I'm constantly focused on my health.
I have so much respect for you.
Thank you for you guys as well.
I like to have your feedback, because what I believe is happening is that we're taking the stress out, which changes the paradigm, because as oxytocin and serotonin go up, we see more alternatives. Stress narrows our focus. So the fascial maneuvers reduce 75 to 90% of their stress in the first 7 to 10 minutes. What that does is it allows a person to self-correct, creating new paradigms, but it happens slowly. And what we do is we give them programming language. But I believe that a combination of what you do and what we do can radically alter.
There are times where I'll hypnotize someone, and their whole body goes limp, and it won't even be that limp in sleep, but it'll be that limp in hypnosis. Yeah. And I just find it to be interesting that when they go into that state, there is no stress because there's nothing.
Because what is stress? Stress is resistance.
Tension.
Yeah, and tension over time.
When I go to hypnotize someone, I check their tension.
And we have tension when we feel unsafe. And the more unsafe we feel, the more tension we generate. And that safety can be emotional, physical, or perceptual.
So based on that paradigm, when I go to hypnotize someone and I touch them, you see me just shock them in. What I'm really doing prior to that is I'm increasing their tension, so they're looking for an escape. So it's like, hey, you don't realize that you're on fire. Let me turn up the heat a little bit. So then you want to get rid of the fire overall.
Contrast.
Exactly. I'm creating contrast. Like I amplify the stress, the pressure, confusion, all of that.
We do that in the body.
Yeah, we compress the body.
Yeah, you're compressing and
We
breathing.
twist and compress the body, generating a ton of tension and pressure. And then when they unwind, it's the contrast.
But they feel safe because they hug themselves and they're in a pattern the body recognizes, and the lungs are compromised, and then the body just says, I need to breathe, and it just opens everything up.
It's super interesting, huh? When you lean into whatever the stress is, the stress can go away.
Yeah, like we have so much to talk about.
Yeah.
But what I really want to think about after you do this is I want to think about taking and applying away, because our genuine desire to help people, and I know yours is too.
Yeah.
Take and applying what your findings are of our process, and applying a self-hypnosis technique to that, or something that we can use.
Yeah,
because
maybe I can even give you guys an audio or something.
That would be something that's why we're talking to you. We're looking for better ways to do what we're doing.
I would love to do some kind of collab, and then in return, what I would really like from you guys is to help me. I have a offer launching in 8 days. It's called HypnoFit, and the whole idea is to biohack. Like biohack your energy, biohack everything. And ironically, this podcast comes at the perfect time, because this has been my obsession over the last couple months, is just straight up, how do I make my body fully optimized, chemically, hormonally?
What if you found more joy in what you were doing with it?
I find a lot of joy in it, trust me.
The way to optimize your
this.
body is just like you're doing it, is to remove resistance.
Yeah.
And fascia is the resistance in the body, because fascia holds the emotions. And if you're emotionally, perceptually tight, your fascia is tight, which means your body's tight. The maneuvers themselves reduce resistance.
Can you associate like heartbreak to where in the body you hold tension, or you don't know?
Can you associate what?
Like, let's say you get heartbroken. Where's the tension in the body?
100%. Because, I mean, you're going to feel it in your heart. You're going to feel it in your calves. So when you walk around, you're going to pull forward and you're going to go down. You're going to restrict your breathing, creates more stress in the body. The body is a feedback mechanism. So every emotion that you have is NLP. Is
See what he did?
Yeah.
What's your heartbreak, huh? You have a heartbreak?
No.
Yes.
I had heartbreak.
Well, you
No,
lean
he-
forward.
he still-
Oh, I leaned forward on purpose because I was like mimicking the.
I know. That's a suggestion, though. You see how he talked, though, and you did it?
Yeah.
That's unconsciously. It's
Unconsciously.
I'm just chilling over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting. That I just wanted to point out.
He still does, and you can feel it.
Yeah.
So I mean, whatever we can do to help you, great. But one of the things is to help biohack the body. You can't. I don't like the word biohack because we're not intelligent enough to figure this quantum machine out. But what we can do is program it. So is to program the stress out. And if you program the stress out, everything that you want to do happens faster. Add our program. Our program is intellectual property free. We can show you how to add it to your course.
Yeah, I would love to.
And even our movements are programming language for the body. And you're using programming language through a different way. And that's,
Like,
I think,
when it comes to programming people, I got this down to.
yeah.
I'll show you guys what to do. It's so easy. You have no idea.
Amazing.
But
Yeah.
the biggest thing is conviction and empathy. You have to understand. Not empathy as in, okay, I'm just feeling what you're feeling, but I could see what you're seeing. I explain to you, here's how you look at it. The clearer you can explain to the average person, here's how you've looked at this your whole life, and make it simple and clear. Like, so everything they're even telling themselves, you're telling them. And then you go, but this is the problem. When you look at it this way, you're not seeing this. Now you've rewired them. But you have to call out their current paradigm. You have to literally say, I understand. You're literally at this address. This is where you're at. Here's where you should be if you want this.
It's merging the identities, essentially. Like, because
Yeah.
a problem if you as is it in present time of what it is, they cognitive of, oh,
Okay, well,
And
they
can
also want
take
to
a
feel
new one.
understood. They're like,
Yeah.
no, you don't understand me. Like, initially, it's, oh, you don't
Yeah.
understand me. That's the resistance.
They want to know that you perceived the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you just say, here's how I perceived it in the past, and you explain their paradigm, and you go, here's what I found wrong. For example, in psychology, I perceive that it takes years to change. It's very difficult. How things are. Old dogs don't learn new tricks. Like, all the typical things that it's impossible. Once you're traumatized, you got to carry that burden. You know, stress is normal, anxiety is normal, depression is normal. And I saw all these things, I'm like, no, it's not. And being confident is not normal. Like, being extremely confident is not normal. Being able to talk to people, not have anxiety all the time, that's not normal. When I realized that all of this is nonsense, I'm like, I'm looking at the people I'm learning from, I'm like, you're less confident than I am. You have more stress than I do. You have smaller goals than I do. Everything you're saying, like, they're like, you can only charge $150 a session. I charge $1 million. That's what, I'm like, everything I've been taught is wrong, you know? And when I saw that, I said, I'm gonna show people. I'm gonna show people how to just get rid of this. And I'm gonna do it for them on top of it. So I think if you just, the easiest thing you could do is say, hey, like you said, smallest input for the biggest result. I would even make it clear. And you know, to translate what you said is just simply the most optimal health, the best energy, everything you possibly do for your body with the least amount of effort. It's not that hard to do. You know, you just do very few things and you have extreme health.
That's what I feel like I've done, and we've done. We're
That's
sharing
great.
that with the world.
What do you guys think about all these people on Ozempic and all that bullshit?
You know, none of that's needed. Take the body out of stress, mineralize the body. It just gravity. Us trying to hack the body is crazy. This is the most perfect computer ever built in this realm of Earth, or whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
You just give it what it needs. Let it have its environment. It'll do what it needs.
That's what I've noticed. I've noticed even the last couple months, I've been feeding myself completely differently. I'm just giving my body the raw material that I feel I crave, and I'm just different.
And as you clean up the body, it starts to, the reticular activating system, which makes you aware of things, starts to bring into your awareness the things that accelerate it. But if you treat it bad and you put poison in it, it starts to decelerate.
Yeah.
So the body's either growing or dying, and you take your pick.
Same paradigm I have. You have the exact same paradigm I have. It's just now applying the knowledge that I'm lacking and you're lacking. And I think that would be it.
I really, really like. I'm looking forward to getting to know you better.
Yeah, whenever you guys want. I mean, I'm happy to teach you guys everything.
Sweet. Thank you, man. Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time today.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Hey, you want to get hypnotized?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If this touched you in any way, impacted your life, remember, we're on a mission to help 1 billion people. Be part of that. Like, follow, subscribe, share this content with someone you think it will impact their life. Again, the more this gets out there, it's going to help the world transform. And hey, we all want to transform and have a better life. Be part of that. Like, follow, subscribe. Do it right now, okay?